What's up, Tru Heel Heat? Tru Heel Heat.
What's up?
Tru Heel Heat. All hands on me. Hello everyone, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at Tru Heel Heat. Yeah!
All right, hello, Tru Heel Heat. I'm the AEW World Champion MJF. Just in case you're deaf, dumb, blind, stupid, or since you listen to this podcast poor, you're listening to Tru Heel Heat, and I apologize for that.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with Tru Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
It is the most wonderful time of the year. It is G1 season. We are down the home stretch. Tomorrow will be the finals, and we are down to 2. Yoda Tsuji and Zack Sabre Jr. will talk about the final week of the G1 Climax, Krssi Luv's favorite name for a tournament ever. We're also going to be talking about the latest with the Lucha Bros going from AEW to WWE. Do they not want to do business? Should Tony Khan let them out of their contract without additional injury time? We'll talk all about it, as well as AEW bringing All In 2025 to Arlington, Texas, as well as the rumors of a stadium show in Australia. We got a lot to discuss. As always, this is the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Let's hit the intro. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Tru Heel Heat 290 All In Lucha Business, discussing the latest wrestling news, including the latest update on the Lucha Bros leaving AEW for WWE, and Penta trying to back off some claims and trying to report fake news on social media. We'll also talk about AEW bringing All In 2025 to Texas next year. We got a recap of this week in wrestling with the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax 34 final week ahead of tomorrow's finals. AEW Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, RoH TV. I was live for Rev Pro Summer Sizzle last Sunday. WWE SmackDown, Raw, NXT, the start of Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix, and TNA Impact, as well as our matches and best of the week. But of course, I am joined, as always, by the beautiful, the lovely Miss Krssi Luv. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How's everybody? Happy Saturday. What's going on, peeps? What a week of wrestling, right?
Always a crazy busy week in this crazy world of professional wrestling that we deal with every Saturday here. And of
Yep.
course, to do that, we are joined by the Tru Draw himself with his faithful, trusty
How is
sidekick,
he? Look at
Prince.
Hi, Prince. Welcome back,
It's
Prince.
it's
You
the
look
Tru
great.
Draw Josh. How are you doing?
Doing good. Prince is doing better.
Wonderful. He don't have to wear the cone anymore.
I mean, technically he's supposed to, but
Guys,
he's been behaving, so that's why we left it on, because he hasn't been scratching himself as much.
okay.
We felt like how uncomfortable he was wearing it.
I'm sure.
So I think he kind of knows at this point, like if he starts doing that, we got to put it back
Put it
on.
back on. Got it. Okay.
He's like, I'm gonna behave, mom and dad.
I'm
Don't worry.
not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do
Jesus.
it.
Just don't put that damn thing on me. Like y'all embarrassed me last week. I had to wear it here on YouTube, and all these people had to watch me and shit. Well, we're glad Prince is doing well, and we're glad for all of you joining us live here on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel for another edition of our flagship podcast. We are here every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. The Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast is the best place to get up-to-date news on everything going on in WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, Stardom, RoH, and everything in between. So we appreciate y'all for joining us. Show that appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, if you're watching us on Facebook, you could drop a heart, a like, an angry emoji, a laughing emoji. However, this week in professional wrestling made you feel, let us know with those emotes. If you're watching us on Romeo's Twitter, you could drop the heart, retweet the video. It helps the algorithm over on the Twitter/X page over there. And of course, you can sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with you here on the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. So we will try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, the best way to do that is hit the $sign and send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here. And of course, like Jimmy Macaram always says, I'm broke, so I need the help, and I appreciate that as always. Or you can hit the join button and become a member of the channel. That also helps out. For just $1 a month, you get the in-chat perks. You get to get involved into the conversation as well. We got Eric Isaacs in the chat with us already, who says, good morning, THH fam. Mia Yim spoils Queen Naya's party and has the OTC met his match in the Samoan Werewolf, and rest in power, Alpha. You and Sika will never lose your seats at the table. And yes, we got to start off this flagship podcast with another RIP. It always happens in pairs or threes when it comes to the wrestling world, because another legend of the mat in the one half of the Wild Samoans, Afa Anoa'i. He passed away yesterday morning at the age of 81. 81 years old. So he was dealing with a lot, being in and out of the hospital. He was dealing with sickness. He had to fight for a little bit, but the fight was over, and he went upstairs to join Sika. The Wild Samoans are reunited in heaven and probably having a great sold out WrestleMania style tag team matchup with all the other great tag teams up there. So, you know, our thoughts, condolences to the family, the Anoa'i family, which they've dealt with a lot as the last couple of months with Sika passing away. That was in June, and now you got Alpha joining him. So all our thoughts and condolences to the friends and family of Afa Anoa'i. And the Wild Samoans are really kind of pioneers. We would not have the Bloodline saga that folks are all praising and, you know, all big about if it wasn't for the Wild Samoans. I know my first memories of professional wrestling is like Wild Samoans being, you know, managed by Lou Albano. I know you're an old school wrestling fan yourself, Miss Krssi Luv. So do you have any memories of the Wild Samoans that you want to share here?
I just remember that like their wild hair wasn't like quite an afro, but it was still like nice and soft and luxurious. Excuse me.
Whenever Harlem or Sydney take a bath and their hair is all curly like that, I call them the Wild Samoans.
But no, you just knew that their style was different. They had like wore their traditional like, you know, garments that they would wear like a luau or whatever, or like one of their traditional ceremonies, and it was just very different and unique. And they're definitely a staple of like families that are in the wrestling business. You can't talk about them without like, you know, you can't say the Hearts, you can't say, you know, the Anoa'i, you can't talk about dynasty families and they are mentioned up there.
Yeah, and they are the pioneers of it for sure. And you know, if you watch Young Rock, you also got to see kind of their starts in the business. You know, working alongside the Polynesians over with Peter Maivia and that family, and then you know. The Anoa'i family is so important to professional wrestling today, especially the WWE. And Alpha is the uncle of the Roman Reigns, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later on when we get into Friday Night SmackDown from last night. So definitely all our thoughts, condolences to Afa Anoa'i. We got also in the chat a couple of people giving their RIPs, like Power Driver Finisher. You got Bell, who says the same. Prayers and thoughts to the Anoa'i family. We got Chuck Berries, who says, good morning, THH fam. As the old saying goes, the show must go on. So with that said, our rest in peace to Alpha and the Wild Samoans. And we also got Frantic World joining us in the chat. Good to see you, Senior Nerd, as well. We appreciate y'all for joining us. Remember to drop that thumbs up. But we're not alone. Last week, we were joined by, of course, our OG trio with Top Guy JJ making his monthly appearance here on the flagship podcast. But we had to fill in those shoes. And I met up with someone this past Sunday at Rev Pro in York Hall. I ran into him. I didn't even think to hit him up, which I should have. That's my mistake. I should have hit him up to make sure he was going to be there so I could see him. I missed out on so many other people, but this man stopped me in my tracks. I was chopping it up with him and then got to talk to him a little bit online afterwards. And I was like, come on back home because you're one of the regulars. You're one of the OGs as guests here on the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. So he is back from the GRAPPL app podcast. The one and only Benno is here. What's up, Benno?
Hey guys, thanks for the intro. Yeah, it's awesome. Great to be here. I'm sad to have missed Krssi because we were in the same building, weren't we, for Forbidden Door? I saw your photos on Facebook right after. So missed you, but caught SP3. He tried to kayfabe me. He was walking past and I was like, Sid. I got nothing. And I was like, kayfabe. SP3, turn right round. Gotta use the gimmick name.
Seriously, I don't like it's so weird because when I introduce myself to somebody and they don't know me, I introduce as Sid. But if someone calls me out at a wrestling show and they say Sid,
they're not
gonna hear them. But if you say SP3, I'm definitely gonna keep my head up like, oh yeah, I know you.
See, I should know better because, like, my we're going government names here. My government name is Richard. So, like, none of you guys are ever calling me. The only person who calls me Richard is my mum and my boss. Like, I could be in a room and someone could be like, Rich, and I'd just sit there and not pay any attention. Benno, and I'd turn right round. So, I get it.
The same thing, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. But, yeah, it was so good to see you, man. It was crazy. So, I was saying, it was very hot and sweaty in there, wasn't it? But it was just cool to see you in 3D. It was like, I can see the side of SP3. He's like a fully... I'm used to seeing you, but in real life, it was very different.
You're used to seeing me sit down, and you see that I'm basically the same height as when I sit down as when I stand up. So it was good. It was good to see you, good sir. and stand next to you and be like, "Oh my God, this is a real person. This is not like
Crazy.
it's not like an AI. It's not like AI that I do a show with every once in a while."
I saw you, and then like maybe like half an hour later, I saw a man with sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt walk past, and I was like, "That is definitely Joe Hulbert." And I stopped him.
I gave you the peep that he was wearing a Hawaiian
Said he was
shirt.
around. But he was on his way. He had a very important meeting, and you'll have seen on his Twitter who the very important meeting was with MJF. Yeah. So he didn't blow me off, but I understood. I was like, dude, I'll let you go. You got to go do that. So we had him on Spotlight on Tuesday. So podcasters making connections this week. It works well.
I love it. I love to see it, and I love that you're back on the show. We got so much to discuss. I know, from all of our times we've had on you, you have kind of gotten disgruntled, to say the least, with AEW, but we got some New Japan to discuss, and New Japan is back. That's what I want to let everybody know off the top. This is
it really?
G1, the best G1 in 5 years. Best G1 in 5
years.
It's been because they got rid of that whole 4-block format, which sucked. Sucked ass. Yeah, that helped, but a lot of people stepping up. So we're going to discuss some G1 to start off the show, changing it up this week. But before we do that, we got to shout out all of you who are joining us live, as well as supporting us across social media. We start things off with the Tru Heel roll call, our top 3 conversation starters over on our Tru Heels group page over on Facebook. You got Stewie Palmer coming in at number 3 this week, ending his streak at number 1. You got Neil Benedict as well as Alan Weinstein at number 1 this week. So shout out to ALW. He's one of our Patreon backers, along with Vala B, the Negro Buck, Vic Jackson, Alice McCarthy, Professor Chris, Trey, Robert, Steve, Ladarius, John, aka Russell Scopes, Dan, Kobe, Dolores, John Martin, DJ Eric, Marcus, James, Allen, and Santo. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content plus much, much more. But like I said, we're going to start things off with the G1 Climax. Final week of the 34th tournament from the G1. Like I said, I've been having so much fun following along with the G1. I talked to the producer before we went live here. I said the only thing I've had to sacrifice as the scapegoat to follow along with the G1 is my sleep. I haven't been getting much sleep, but I've been following along with the journey. I'm going to get even less sleep because tomorrow's show for me and Benno in the UK starts at 7 a.m. I
was going to say, we probably have it better though, don't we? Because in the US, it's like middle of the night, isn't it? So there's some. I'm not a morning person whatsoever. Like a great man Kevin Nash once said, I'll happily get up at the crack of midday. That's usually how my days start. But like a New Japan at 7 in the morning, especially when it's a Wrestle Kingdom, I kind of get excited. I get my coffee ready. It's a great way to start the day when the shows are good. So I think we've got it better than some other places in the world, I think.
Yes, I will say it made it easier to follow along with the G1, not having to wake up at like 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m. for a couple of these shows. So that is the good part of being in the UK for this. But yes, we got to talk about the final week here, which you start off with day 15. That was on, I believe, Monday, which was the end of the block competition for the A block. You had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Sonata in an excellent bout for Zack to finish number 1 overall in the A block. You had Gabe Kidd. He picked up a win over Callum Newman in a solid bout. Shoto Amino did God's work. He did God's work for all of us because he defeated Evil to eliminate the House of Torture leader from the playoffs of the G1. You had Shingo Takagi defeated Jake Lee to advance to the G1 playoffs, as well as the Great Okan pulling off the biggest upset of the tournament, beating the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Tetsuya Naito in a good main event, as Great Okan won 5 straight to get himself into the G1 playoffs, where he would face Shingo Takagi. But before that, you had day 16, which was on Wednesday. That featured, you had Konosuke Takeshita picking up the victory over Ren Narita to advance to the G1 playoffs. You had David Finlay beat ELP, El Phantasmo, to finish number 1 overall in the B block. Hanare beat Hiroki Goto to eliminate Goto from the G1 Climax, playoffs. And then finally, you had Yota Tsuji. He picked up the victory over Jeff Cobb in a pretty good main event to advance to the G1 playoffs. And that all led to Thursday, which was the G1 playoffs and knockout stage, the final 6, where the winners of this match advanced to this morning's semifinals, where you had first Yota Tsuji defeating Konosuke Takeshita in a tremendous main event matchup to advance to the B block semifinals. This one was a rematch from the opener in the G1, where Takeshita beat Tsuji. Tsuji getting his revenge in this one. Takeshita did a tremendous job selling the knee throughout that bout. And then you had Great Okan's best match of the tournament, where he lost to Shingo Takagi in a great fighting spirit battle to advance to the A block semifinals. And that all led with Tsuji and Shingo advancing. It led to this morning, the semifinals, day 18. And what a show it was with the final 2 matches, the double main event. First up, you had Yota Tsuji. He beat David Finlay in a fabulous bout, with Tsuji using his rival, Yuya Uemura, who got injured in the tournament. He used his finisher for the win to advance to the G1 finals, his first of his career. And Zack Sabre Jr., everyone's favorite, especially in the UK, everyone's favorite to bring it home. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Shingo Takagi in an incredible main event that had an absolutely electric crowd in Sumo Hall for a fantastic final stretch as ZSJ advances to the G1 finals. So who you got? Who you got? We're going to go around the board here. Who you got? Tomorrow is it. It is all set and done. The finals is set. It's going to be Yota Tsuji, who is looking to make history himself, as he would become the first person in New Japan Pro Wrestling history to win both the New Japan Cup and the G1 Climax in one full year. Really cement himself as the future ace of the company. Or will Zack Sabre Jr., who said that if he doesn't win this year's tournament, he is a failure in his career. Will he make history, becoming the first British wrestler to win the G1 Climax 34 tournament, the second ever Gaijin to win the G1 Climax after Kenny Omega back in 2016? We will start with our special guest, Benno. Who you got, Zack versus Tsuji?
I was going to say SB3 as an honorary Englishman now. You've got to get used to what it's
right?
like here, mate. We don't win things. We get to semi-finals. We come close, and then we moan about it for 50 years afterwards. That's like an English tradition. It's probably why we're all so miserable. So I just expected Zack to not get through today. I was like, he'll fall at the semi-final. You know, they give him the New Japan Cup. It's a nice little thing, a nice little trinket they give him, but he's never actually going to win the real thing, the G1. And I still think now, even getting to the final, like I say, it might just be that the defeatism of being English. I don't think he's going to do it. And again, obviously, Yota Tsuji's the project right now, isn't he? And I think if you look at both of their win-loss records, Zack has won the majority of matches. Yota's kind of snuck through there. So from a booking point of view, maybe it makes more sense to give Yota Tsuji the big final win, and Zack still looks strong in defeat. So yeah, head goes with Yota Tsuji, heart wants Zack. That'd be really cool. I'm just not sure if I can see him headline on a Wrestle Kingdom, even in like this version of New Japan, unfortunately. But I hope for it. I'd want that to happen.
Yeah, he would be only the second Gaijin in third Gaijin in recent years behind Omega and Jay White to main event a Wrestle Kingdom in the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship matchup. We'll go to Krssi Luv next. Who you got, Zack Sabre Jr. or Yota Tsuji?
Zack Sabre Jr. for sure. He has to win. I think he should win. He deserves this. He's the only guy that's like cool that's there now.
Yeah.
Still. So he deserves it. Everyone else left, so you know, make it worth everyone's while, and he should be the winner. He deserves it though. But I mean, he's like one of the hardest working guys there, so I think it's should be handed to him.
And he is the one that was like dedicated the most. Like when all the other guys left in 2021, when they did that mass exodus dealing with the pandemic, Zack stayed. He stayed in Japan. He stayed there. He really dedicated himself. He really became one of the New Japan really kind of stalwarts during that pandemic era. So,
Josh,
You're next up. Who you got? Zack Sabre Jr. or Yota Tsuji?
I'll go with Zack. I think he deserves it. He's been in this road for too long for nothing to happen for him, especially in New Japan. Even though, honestly, I wouldn't be upset at either guy winning because I think both guys are pretty deserving of any type of push that goes into Wrestle Kingdom. That's why I've actually liked this G1 because it's not only the matches were great, but there's like so much suspense that it's like you really don't know who's gonna win. And I do believe that they got the two right guys in the finals. So I'm a lean with Zack. I think that's the guy you go with. Even though again, I think Tsuji has worked hard as well. So either or, I'm not upset. So I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with Zack.
Yeah, either way, you're gonna have someone, making history, and of course, I got famously jumped on our G1 Climax 34 preview. Benno, your countrymen, you had Kyrian on there, you had Sanal on there, and they jumped me because they all went for Zack Sabre Jr. along with Scott and Jade News, and I just wanted to be the contrarian. I wanted to be different. And I said Shoto Aminu. I was like, they gotta make Shoto Aminu. They gotta throw the shooter a bone. But no, I was wrong. He did not even make it to the playoffs. Zack made it to the playoffs, number one. He's made it to the finals. And then on our Final Four preview yesterday, me and Sanal once again said it was gonna be Zack and Yota Tsuji, which was the popular choice for the finals. So it's very appropriate that it's come down to those two. But I was like Shingo and Yota Tsuji. I said, damn all of that. Let's get Harlem's pick. That's Benno, that's Krssi, and that's Josh.
Okay. Hi.
But you got to make your pick. You want Zack or Tsuji? Tsuji. She says Tsuji. So I'm gonna have to go with my daughter. I'm gonna have to go with her daughter. I'm
about to say, I'm sorry, Harlem. Your heart is gonna be broken, friend. Sorry.
I'm not I refuse to pick Zack. I'll be honest. Before we did our preview, I thought Zack Sabre Jr. was gonna win the G1 because it was like, you gotta pick Zack. You didn't have him win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I thought they should have done this like earlier in the year, have him be the one that beat Naito for the title instead of Jon Moxley. They didn't do that. So I was like, all right, they don't believe in Zack. But I was like, Zack has to win the G1. But then when everybody was picking that, I was like, I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to just fall in line. I don't want to just fall in line. I'm going with Shoto Aminu. I did also have Yota Tsuji making it to the finals because this is a big moment for him, and he's already gotten over with the fact that he won the New Japan Cup and now has made it this far in the G1. But I say you put your balls on the table, you put your dick on the table, Gato, and you make a new star. You make a new Japanese star. You got to make a new Japanese star. Zack Sabre Jr., he's 37 years old. Come on, let's put over Yota Tsuji. Let's make Yota Tsuji the man.
He's 37 already.
Make history. Yes, he's 37. He's 37. It's a wrap. This will be a nice lifetime
He's a young man. Come on.
Hey, it'll be a nice lifetime achievement, but you got to make a new star, a guy that's going to be here for the next decade. That's Yota Tsuji.
They really do. That's the thing. Like it's definitely been a better G1. I would agree it's the best in the last few years. That's not a huge amount of praise though, because as you know, SB3 have been in the trenches with me. They haven't been great, have they? So there's been positives. Some of the booking though have been, like you said, Shotsurumo, like there's people like that. You're thinking, this is the time to make stars. Let's go. And Gedo doesn't. And that's what makes me worry about Yota Tsuji. Yota Tsuji is clearly his time. They need to strap a rocket to somebody. He's probably the guy, isn't he? He's your new Okada or whoever, whatever, comparison you want to make. They need to do that this year if it's not going to be Zack. So I'm glad it's both of them, but nothing's guaranteed either, is it, with this company? Yeah. Like, they don't seem to know. They desperately need to make new stars because they lost all their stars, didn't they, last 2-3 years?
Yep.
Yeah, they have. Like the top guys, like they were saying it on today's show. They was like, the top 3 guys that had the most main events, or top 4 was Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, Shingo, and Will Ospreay. You lost Ospreay and Okada this year. Shingo, you just never want to go all the way and push him to that level, even though he was the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He was kind of their Jon Moxley. You know how with AEW, if something went wrong and they had no other choice, they just put it on Jon Moxley. That's what they did with Shingo Takagi back in 2021. They had no one else. All the Gaijins left, so they put it on Shingo Takagi, but they've never really committed to him since then. And we all have seen Krssi Luv, Benno, y'all were there live at Forbidden Door. Naito's on his last legs, and he might not be even on those legs.
I was going to say, we lost Naito to time. He's there. He's there in body. He's there in mind, but not in body, or the other way around.
Not in body,
it's a shell of himself, isn't it? It's sad.
Poor thing.
It is.
Definitely a struggle.
And he had probably, I think it's like one of the worst records a champion. Okay, thanks for a bowl of water. Am I supposed to be a dog?
Maybe she thought she was thirsty.
No, she's drinking water too. So I'll...
Stay hydrated.
Thank you.
It's important.
Good. Thank you. That's nice of you.
Yummy.
Indeed. Yummy indeed. You said hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody. So
hey.
Yummy. It's a water.
And you're gonna give me this? You want to take this? Take this. All right. I'll take your cup of water.
Looks like a genie bottle.
She's gonna give me
that strawberry.
No, this is yeah. I think it is a strawberry. It's a strawberry cup.
So she's gonna give you more water?
I don't know. She just left. She just left me with.
Did she put anything in the water?
No. Thankfully, no.
Okay.
Thankfully, no. It tastes like water, folks. We got Vala B, who is a good point. My daughter is an LIJ fan because she once said her great quote. She said, "Shingo is wrestling," and then she just picked Yota Tsuji. So she's an LIJ fan. All right, you want to take this bowl of water since you're still standing there? Oh, okay. Mommy took it first. Thank you. All right, so we got 2 for Yota Tsuji. We got 2 for Zack Sabre Jr. So let's see, y'all chat. Y'all gotta be the tiebreaker. We see a lot of people going for ZSJ. S.Jack says ZSJ is cold as fuck. We got the Wrestle Bear who says Zack Sabre Jr. Gotta get it. I mean, it's not this year. It's never gonna happen for Zack. So I understand. I want to pick Zack. I love Zack. I can't because the Englishman jumped me on the preview, so I refuse to. I refuse to be bullied into this pick. Frantic World says this is ZSJ time, so it looks like Zack is the popular choice from the chat as well. We do have a super chat donation from Vala B. Thank you so much, Vala B, for the support. He says, "I'm not going to be on for a bit, but showing love to the crew and Benno. I got Zack, but I wouldn't mind Tsuji." That's what Josh said. I think that's the best part about this final is that either choice is a good option for New Japan.
Totally. Yeah, that's it. Something new, and they haven't got much option to do anything but do something new. That's the time. It's absolutely. Yeah. I'd go even further. I'd get a new book or 2, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon, is it? But we'll take what we can get.
Knowing them, if they get a new booker, it's going to be Dick Togo, and I don't want that. That's worse than Gato. That's worse than Gato. That's somehow worse. We got Chris who says I went for Yoda. We got Call Me Mr. Banda who says ZSJ is taking it to the Isle of Sheppy. We got Bell who says I don't know about Tsuji, but I'm in the mood for Suja. Just kidding. LOL. We got Alice Powell who says Narita and Evil versus Jake Lee and Chase Owens should happen at Wrestle Kingdom. Pal.
That's a threat.
I hate when y'all troll. Y'all are trolls. But yes, we're gonna see what happens tomorrow morning at the G1 Climax final, and we'll have our review on Monday with myself, Jay News, and Sanal. But let's get into the converse with AEW Dynamite this week. The show did 703,000 viewers, which is up slightly from the week prior. And the show featured featured a lot of video package, but none no greater than the amazing Bryan Danielson career retrospective video package to the tune of Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, that honored his legacy in wrestling with clips of from AEW, RoH, PWG, and NJPW. This led to the main event where Swerve defeated Wheeler Yuta, stomping his head in and punching him to death before the referee called for the referee stoppage. Post-match, Swerve continued the assault on Yuta until Bryan Danielson made the save. Strickland then said that he will cripple Danielson in front of his daughter at AEW All In. And as Bryan was helping Yuta out of the ring, he delivered a house call out of nowhere to the American Dragon to close the show and mockingly do the yes chant. In the opener to the show, you had Mercedes Moné beat Hikaru Shida in a very good bout to retain the TBS championship. Post-match, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, returned to attack Moné and applied the lockjaw until Camille made the save, or tried to make the save here, as Britt stood tall, holding up the TBS gold. Orange Cassidy defeated Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly in a great three-way bout to become the number one entrant in the Casino Gauntlet coming up at All In Wembley Stadium. Jack Perry attacked Darby Allin, crushing him under a metal garage door backstage before challenging Darby to his kind of matchup, a coffin match at All In next Sunday, which was made official. We had also the Young Bucks beat the Acclaimed via disqualification to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships after FTR intervened. This led to a post-match brawl with FTR and the Acclaimed before Christopher Daniels announced that they will face tonight on Collision to determine who will face the Young Bucks at All In next Sunday. We'll start with you, Benno. What did you think about this week's Dynamite?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Young Bucks match is still going on right now. It hasn't, the interference hasn't happened yet. Jesus Christ. The second half of Dynamite was not the same as the first half of Dynamite this week, I thought. It dragged a bit, but it did everything you'd want it to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen every take out there on Dynamite. I've seen people who hated it this week, people who loved it, people who were split, which is maybe where I am. But you can't say they didn't do the right things. Those video packages, like, it's become a meme, hasn't it? Why don't AEW do video packages? Why don't they hype things enough? They did so much of that this week to make All In feel like the big show it should be. So you can't help but, give it a thumbs up for that. There were good matches in the first half. I loved the three-way. Thought that was good. And then, like I say, in the second half, it kind of dragged a little bit. Functional is probably the word there with Dynamite this week. I did mostly like the Swerve and Bryan stuff as well. So there were things to like too. But yeah, it was I don't know. I feel like Dynamite was on a really, really hot streak up until a couple of weeks ago. Almost like they peaked a little bit too early in the
month of July. That was probably their best month of the year.
So good.
Like the month of
it's like
July.
6 weeks in a row. Great Dynamites, really. And you can't keep that up. And, people like me might complain if they didn't advertise these matches early and didn't do these big angles early and make them feel important. So it's really good that they did that. But the knock-on effect is we're kind of limping towards All In now when we were sprinting a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they went heavy on the video packages, and Jimmy Macaram, he was like saying like it wasn't really a show, like there wasn't much as far as like new content. It was more of content you've already seen, just put into a nice package. But like you said, they need that type of stuff to make All In feel big, and I thought they did a great job with the MJF Will Ospreay video package. The Mariah May video package might have been some of her best promo work. Saying that she's going to write Tony Storm's eulogy. I thought the Bryan Danielson career retrospective was one of their best production jobs.
Did you see the
video package yet?
The interview Bryan did with Kerrang, where he said that when he dies, he wants that song played at his funeral. So I hope that's not what's happening here. If that's not like a tell that it's over, because I presume he's winning, or I presume he's carrying on wrestling. But yeah, Tony's definitely read that interview. I think there was a nice little Easter egg. But yeah, it was emotional. That got me. That it really did.
Yeah, when I heard the pain is temporary, pride is forever, I got both hyped and then sad. I was like, is this really it? Is this the end? Is this the end of the road?
Me and you are going to be in Wembley, either crying tears because it's the end, or crying tears because
that's
final
right. You're
countdown
gonna
played.
be there. That's so
One or
good.
the other.
One or the other. One or the other in Wembley Stadium for sure. Josh, what did you think about this week's Dynamite?
I thought the show was solid. I do agree. Like the second hour, they kind of drag. But I think the overall show, I think it did what it needed to do. I had a lot of great video packages. A lot of they're doing what people were complaining that they weren't doing, so they can complain about this, right? We had three video packages, by the way, 3 of them. And they were all great. I think that's what makes it better too. Because I just don't want them to just throw, hey, we're doing video packages now, and it kind of look like shit. So I'm glad that it was good, all 3 of them. But yeah, I think this was more of just them going into all in. I think they're just probably gonna save up until that weekend. That's how I'm taking it. I don't think that you're not going to get anything that crazy until then. I think we have one more Dynamite till then, right? This coming Wednesday, which is also in the UK, right? And is in the UK, right? Oof. So I think that one's probably going to be a good go home show because they're doing it Dynamite the first time, right, in front of UK crowd, I believe, right? So I think that one's. I think they're probably going to put a lot into that show more so. So again, show was solid. Second hour wasn't the same as the first hour, but they did its job going into their big show.
Yeah, my number one issue was like pacing and structure. I would have put certain things in other places, like especially with despite it going maybe too long and not a lot of people liking the Bucks and Acclaim, you've been building that matchup for 3 freaking months. You should not put it in the dead spot of where the woman used to be on the show at 9:20, 9:30, right before the main event. That didn't make any sense to me.
It was a real giveaway. We weren't getting a finish, wasn't it? It was really obvious because of that.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, we're definitely not getting a finish because they didn't put this at the middle hour or at least at the beginning of the show or something like that. And then I thought the Paige and Jay Lethal matchup should have came like after one of the video packages because there was a stretch where we didn't have any wrestling. We went through a whole segment of the show and then went to another commercial break without any matches because they've been doing better as far as not booking a lot of matches on Dynamite. Like 4 to 5 matches on a show should be enough with the different angles and the stuff that you're building to the pay-per-view, that you don't need to have like 6 matches on episodes of Dynamite. I used to hate that when they were doing that months ago, but I like the fact that they've lowered down the number of matches. I just would have placed things in different places than where they were. And yes, I agree. Chris Jericho, it's already jumped the shark. I was the biggest fan of the learning tree, but it's already jumped the shark.
How long?
I mean, because it's over. It's bland now. Like it's how much more? Hi guys. Like okay, it's done. It's done now. Like it was cute when you made us like you because we weren't liking you. So you did this gimmick and you made us back like you. You took your music away. Now it's just very stale. It's like very like copy and paste. You do the same shit every week. Nothing is organic about it anymore. Do something else now.
And just the character stagnation of Hook is just sad. It's just sad.
They shouldn't give that boy a microphone. Like he's a pretty young thing, isn't he? Hook. He's a good looking lad with a bit of like he's got like silent charisma, hasn't he? Like there's a coolness about Hook. Not like when he opens his mouth, it's like, oh, I know you've got to get practice to get good at those things, but he shouldn't be on national TV.
So basically, he needs someone to talk for him.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely, yeah.
Or do pre-tapes.
Oh yeah,
he's good at the pre-tapes.
I was about to say that. Like, do just like pre-recorded vignettes. Like that's where he's best at. Don't put him on a live mic. Yeah, because that was rough too. I was like, damn. I was like, yeah. I mean, he had the crowd behind him at least.
He's literally trying. Like
he is, and I think that's kind of the thing with AEW. It's like it's more of like damn if you do, damn if you don't, because like they want these guys to get better
Right.
They want these guys to get better on the mic, but then it's like they don't get better if they don't have the time to do it.
Practice.
So,
Correct.
but then when they do it, you get what you get. So like that's why it's that's something that again, like if you want these guys to get better, it has to be done. You have to get the TV time. Unfortunately, it's a matter of if it's gonna work out or not.
Yeah, it's not working anymore, and it doesn't need to be on the show every week, Tony.
Yeah.
I hope after All In they stop making it a regular feature thing on Dynamite. It always drags at least the last month. It's dragged down the show every single
Which one?
time.
The Learning Tree?
Learning Tree and the whole Hook and Jericho thing.
Gotcha.
That started in March. It started in March, folks.
That's crazy. The longest build. Like we talk about that, don't we? All In should be the big show of the year. There should be long builds, unlike last year where a few matches were thrown together. But not this.
Not this one, yeah.
Oh, it should have been over 4 months ago. Yeah, that's crazy. Should have been over week 1.
Yeah, really. Should have been over after week 1, but here we are. But yes, we have news to discuss from AEW, and the news has been centered over last week's show as well as this week's show with the Lucha Bros and the fallout from them expected to leave AEW to sign with WWE. The AEW contracts of both Lucha Bros are up soon, with Penta El Zero Mero, aka Pentagon Jr., having confirmed that his expiration date is August 31st. As we discussed last week, word is that both Penta and his brother Rey Fenix are leaning towards signing with WWE when they can, and that AEW realizes this and has taken them out of their plans as a result. Apparently seeking to turn down the volume on those rumors, Penta posted on X on August 13th saying, and I quote, "No more gossip. AEW is my present." You ain't feeling nobody, bro. Minutes after that tweet, Penta replied to Ibu of WrestlePurist, who reported this week that multiple sources within WWE are of the belief that Pentagon Jr. will be in Orlando at some point this week. Penta wrote in response, "Please stop posting fake news. My present is AEW." You ain't beating none of these allegations. This is like Vince McMahon being like, "I did not touch Janelle Grant." Fightful reports that Penta wanting to
you ain't shit, yo. I swear you is not shit, yo.
Fightful reports that Penta wanting to join WWE alongside Phoenix isn't a problem, since WWE is interested in Phoenix as well. They confirmed that Penta would be in Orlando this week, but it wasn't clear if he was visiting the Performance Center. Some people within AEW suspected this situation might occur, but still surprised to see it reported. They had offered the Lucha Bros a new contract reportedly matching what Penta claimed WWE was willing to offer. From AEW's perspective, it was noted that while many suspected something was up, they were still taken aback when it became public. It is important to remember that many details remain unverified because WWE is trying to avoid any contract tampering issues. Yeah, right. Penta has also told friends that his contract has already ended, even though he is still listed on the AEW roster. Some AEW sources mentioned that if Penta's contract hasn't expired, AEW could add injury time to both of their contracts. It was also claimed within All Elite Wrestling that the Lucha Bros didn't want to do business in the appropriate ways that many exits from the company and other companies in general have done in the past. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter that came out on Friday, AEW has the right to extend Rey Fenix's contract by a year due to missed time or because of injury. So Penta attempted to get the heat off of his brother by trying to deny the reports. So,
interesting.
I mean, it was a good freshman trying to deny those reports, but you went too long. We said it last week when we talked about the original report of him being expected to leave AEW to go to WWE, and the fact that they were so open about WWE offering them a contract. And basically, from like, all I can do is just suggestive assumptions of putting point A next to point B is that AEW was having negotiations with the Lucha Bros. At the same time, Lucha Bros made it known that WWE made them a contract offering, which to me, you just connect the dots and say they used AEW's negotiations to get a better deal from WWE. Like the fact that those two reports came out, you were fucking yourself over, Lucha Bros. Like, why are you talking to the people that you're talking to? Like, I am totally fine with anybody doing this. I am pro talent. I always am about get the bag wherever it's going to be offered. But if you're going to do slick shit like this, don't be talking about it.
Luchadors are messy.
Benno.
That's what we've learned.
What do you think about all of this and the reporting that's been going on with the Lucha Bros?
Yeah, I think it's definitely as you laid out there and very clearly, Penta is worried. I don't see Tony Khan. Maybe he will be petty, but I don't see him being petty. I think it's probably the right thing at this point. Just let Phoenix go. Like, we see what happens in other sports, when you keep unhappy players in your locker room. It affects the whole locker room, doesn't it? And AEW has had that problem. I think sometimes you've just kind of got to cut bait. And I say that as a gigantic fan of Phoenix and Pentagon. I'm really conflicted on it because, like, stylistically, the best place for matches is obviously AEW. And it's funny because both things can be true. I almost feel like as a team, they've had some of the best matches in AEW's history, and that is absolutely true. But then at the same time, as individuals, I don't think AEW ever got the most out of them. And I think at this point now, we've all become so used to them being presented as a trio and as a tag team that we've kind of forgotten the early days of AEW when, like, the first All-In that wasn't AEW, Penta was the dream opponent in there for Kenny Omega. Phoenix, we were all talking about, like, oh, he could be a top-line guy in AEW. And that feels like 2 decades ago now. That feels like not even reality at this point because they've been so defined as a tag team, and it's almost like the sum of their parts isn't as, you know what I mean? The tag team should be more than it is, and it never has been. Maybe it's because they've been followed around by Alex Abrahantes in his Dracula outfit. Maybe it's the Pac trio, which I don't think as personalities ever really gelled, even as good as the matches are. I think it's time for them to go. I think it's worth the trying in WWE. You never know in WWE, how they will do with luchadors specifically, but if they do go there, I think as singles is maybe longer term what I'd be aiming for, or we might even get, I suppose, if Phoenix gets trapped in AEW, we get a Penta singles run into WWE and a Phoenix, 1 year, run like Josh Alexander in TNA right now, where he's like a prisoner in a company he clearly doesn't want to be in. But yeah, that's kind of like I'm hoping it shakes out well for them. I'm hoping they do land in WWE just for that fresh, blank canvas really to work with. And I never would have imagined saying that 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, I said it. I said the same thing as you, that I think that AEW kind of did whatever they could with them as a tag team, and them in not to hold on to them, but them as a tag team. I think they've wrestled, the Young Bucks, the FTRs of the world so many times and put on these great matches, whether as a tag team, as a trio, but. And the only way you could say or make the argument that they kind of fumbled them or didn't utilize them enough is as singles competitors. I know, Josh, you made the point that is kind of what Penta wanted, is when they came to AEW to be in a tag team because his body was wearing thin because he put on so many epic big matches, whether it be in TNA or on the independent scene. And then we know the issues that Ray Phoenix, not to say he's injury prone, but he has dealt with a lot of like freak accident injuries throughout his run. So that might also
stop it.
That might be a reason why AEW never committed fully to making him their Rey Mysterio in a lot of eyes. What I kind of surmise. But Josh, what do you think about the latest reports of Penta's attempt to kind of stay clear of that? And to answer the question that's in the headline, should Tony Khan let the Lucha Bros go, or should he be Penta?
I mean, as far as Penta, this is usually from knowing him, the times that I've known him and the times that I've worked with him. This is kind of like not in his character to do something like this. So it was kind of weird that he was doing it. So that's why, in the sense that me personally, I don't know if it was to get the heat off. I don't know, just because like I've been around him before, and I'm like, this was kind of not like him to do so. Usually, like if he's frustrated with something or he's like he's not happy with something, he usually lets it known. Like, and this is the same guy that one of the shows I worked on. He has a match, right? He has a match with, I forgot what's this guy's name. Somebody that we all know. He kind of has a shitty attitude. I forgot his name. It's kind of crazy. I forgot the name, but if you see a picture, then you'll know. He has a match with him, and he cuts a promo in Spanish, and he says that basically that he would love to wrestle him again, but he was not going to wrestle him in the shitty ring because the ring was messed up. The ropes were too springy. It was bad for everybody, and he basically called out the promotion for laying out a shitty ring. Like, it was really bad. And so that's why, like, when I guess a backtrack where he's like, no, my president is AEW. It's just like, oh, bro, you probably just got caught. You got caught.
You messed up your money. Yep.
Yeah, he got caught slipping talking to these guys because they admitted it. It's not like that's already known. Like, yeah, we talked with WWE, probably knowing that you probably shouldn't have done that. Just because of all, like tampering and all that stuff. As far as them, as far as TK, if he should let them go, I think, me personally, I think he needs to have a conversation with both guys and see what they want to do, right? If they don't want to stay, then you let them go, because at the end of the day, you don't want to keep somebody or some people, if they don't want to be there, you don't want to hold them hostage. You know what I mean? Like, you can add a year to somebody's contract, but if the person's not happy, they're disgruntled, and they don't want to be there, then you got to let them go. But in a business standpoint, I think it's one of those things where it's an interesting situation. If TK lets them go, he lets them go. But if he decides to add time to their contracts, I mean, it's something that he usually doesn't do as much. Like, he hasn't done it. So this will probably be a good example if he was to do it. Like, especially trying to combat WWE from what they're doing, because they're not going to admit it. WWE's not going to openly admit, yeah, we offered deals with Lucha Bros, because then they're opening a legal loophole that's going to go in AEW's favor by doing that. So I mean, again, like, when it comes down to it, I think he just needs to have a real conversation about it to them. Hey, what do you guys want to do? Like, and if it's a situation that they really want to stay in AEW, what can we do that would make you stay? Like, what would be like the offer or the conditions that will keep you here? I think that's just more so of that when it comes to everything. Oh, and by the way, I want to point out that there was a quote that TK said about the tampering stuff that, yeah, he believes that. And Triple H liked the tweet, liked the post, and then he backtracked. He backtracked liking the post.
Oh man, you blowing it for yourself. But yeah, I have it here that Tony Khan does believe that WWE is still doing contract tampering. Khan accused WWE of tampering with the contracts of multiple talents back in October of 2023, and he was asked in an interview with the Dan Le Batard show that about the matter, while also talking about the AEW will return to the UK next year, and on whether contract tampering has improved. He said, I don't think that it has. It's still happening. I will reserve all rights when it comes to that, but I don't think that it's stopped. I'll leave it at that. That was probably the most professional response that Tony Khan could have given. That was much better than what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to whine and bitch and complain like he did the last time.
Yeah, and it's crazy too. I think there was people that were trying to like use that against TK, like, oh, he has WWE 24/7 on his mind. I was like, no, he was asked the question and he answered it, and this was probably like one of the best response he could get to another company. Yeah, so I'm like, what? Like, what is this? Like, but yeah, everybody completely ignores that WWE is still doing their shitty business practices of trying to undercut talent from other companies. But everybody ignores that. But yeah, TK.
Of course, that's gonna happen. No one's not gonna see that stuff. Like, duh, they're gonna put their blinders on and just be like, oh, you know.
Yeah, because everyone's like, oh, WWE's hot at the moment. They can't do no wrong. So it's like,
yeah. And like I agree with like what Benno said, that I think that he shouldn't extend the contract. He should just let them go.
Just let them go, yeah.
Because more than any other company in the business today, AEW has suffered because of perception. Mm-hmm. The perception of the company got lowered during the whole brawl out situation, everything that went down with CM Punk, and that has severely affected the company when it comes to, not really tarnished because it's still going on, it's still being successful, but it has lowered the business. It like the attendance are not the same, the TV ratings has gone down significantly in 2024. Like it has, the perception has hurt them. I won't say tarnish because I feel like tarnish is like too big of a word where, oh, it'll never be the same again. You tarnish your legacy. No, I don't think it's that. I think that it hurt them, though, perception and how they dealt with that situation. And now you're seeing kind of the consequences of that with how the business has dropped. And it is in that point where not a lot of people have answers for how they can improve it and get it back, because it might not be able to improve. This might be where they're at right now. And it's going to take maybe WWE having their business get lowered or change the tide, because they are so overwhelmingly the number one force. They are so overwhelmingly hot that AEW cannot be anything else than number two in comparison to them.
Yeah. Extending contracts is a Vince McMahon move, isn't it? Like, you don't want to be that guy if you're Tony Khan. Mm-hmm. You want to rise above it. Like you say, perception is everything. And Tony Khan's not even just brawl out. You know, you think of like the rumored bad attitudes at AEW, your Miros of the world, your Malachi Blacks, guys like that who clearly just don't want to be there. Have caused problems as well. So, yeah, I think it's the smart move.
Yeah, and then there are the not rumored bad attitudes, the people that are obviously have bad attitudes, like Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Anyway, Miss Krssi Luv, you answer the question: should Tony Khan let the Lucha Bros go to WWE? And what do you think about all the news of this week with Penta trying to steer off of it, and the fact that they can extend Rey Fenix's contract?
The extension is very like a Vince move, because he's known for that. So if he does that, I guess he's taking a page out of other people's. Oh, you want to leave? I'll make you stay here a little longer, and I won't even let you work. You can work from home. You can stay home. So he can do that and be an asshole. But to look like the better person and like look like this doesn't affect you, I will let them go, because they'll come back.
Yeah, I kind of have that thought in my head too, Krssi, because you know, like Benno said, this is something that they need. They've been in AEW so long that a fresh place, a fresh look from WWE would be good. And WWE has improved slightly on their tag team division, like what we saw last night on SmackDown. But I also have the thought of Dragon League. That's all. That's all. That I feel like when I think of Lucha Bros in WWE, I'm like, but there's Dragon League.
And the Latino,
right?
Put him in a
that man who they only signed because he had a great match on a Dynamite against the Elite when he teamed up with Andrade and Rouge. For them to do that, where he came to NXT, he was the hot commodity, the hot new free agent in NXT last year, and in less than a year, they have now made him to the point that he's not on TV every week.
They've had so many next Rey Mysterios, haven't they? When you said it before, I was like, I've heard that phrase a lot. So it's not guaranteed, like the chat saying.
Hey, Rey Mysterio's still going.
Yeah, exactly. It turned out the next Rey Mysterio was just Rey Mysterio with new knees. Exactly. Like, that's all you needed. Like, send that guy to a dodgy doctor in Mexico and he's all good to go. But, like, the chat's right, though, as well. Like, how often does that happen? Like, Hispanic guys come into AEW and they just get shoveled into a stable. Like, that's also a possibility. The grass might not be greener. If I was them, I'd probably take the risk, but that could happen too. Absolutely. They could just get parked up in a stable.
Yeah. Choa J says there is only one Rey Mysterio. No one can replace what he does. Yeah, they got to stop with that. But yes, keep those comments going. Send those super chats. Show your support to the chat because we have other big news from AEW to discuss. As though one of the bigger positive news for AEW this week was All Elite Wrestling and the Global Life Field. I have announced that the stadium will host AEW All in Texas. Next year, the event is scheduled for July 12th, 2025, a Saturday pay-per-view. Thumbs up for that. In Arlington, Texas. This will mark the first AEW pay-per-view event in Texas. As me and Jimmy always says, AEW is very big in the slave states. Fightful Select has more.
What is wrong with y'all? Like, seriously, what? The slave?
Yeah, that sounds like
you guys just say red states. Just say red states. Okay.
Fightful Select has more details on the move for the event, which has held
slave states. Oh, Texas is a slave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Which has held which has been held last year at London's Wembley Stadium, and it will be held this year at Wembley Stadium next Sunday. Fightful reports that AEW started making major moves, considering for having All In outside of London as far back as some months ago. It's noted that one of the reasons for making the event announcement before All In 2024 was to avoid any unrealistic expectations set for an announcement at this year's show. Also, a return to Wembley could still happen later on. Tony Khan stated at Thursday's press conference that All In 2026 would return to London, England. AEW recently partnered with the city of Arlington for the Path to All In Summer Series. Bringing AEW All In to Arlington was reportedly part of the grander deal of the recent Summer Series partnership. AEW Chief Operating Officer Koshe Aribi's efforts to make the deal happen were reportedly applauded by both city officials and people within All Elite Wrestling. Fightful notes that when it was initially reported that AEW was planning on a major stadium event next year, the deal with Arlington for All In had not yet been finalized. Additionally, Fightful notes that wrestlers were kept in the dark about the announcement until it was made publicly. This was reportedly done to keep the information close to the vest and prevent leaks. Multiple talents knew they were being brought to Dallas this week, but they were not told what the trip was for. And as we see, we got photographs of the black champions in AEW. Should be noted, when Athena did an interview for one of the Fox affiliates in Arlington, Texas, she was called the AEW Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. So another note that might be a hint of what's to come with Ring of Honor. But you have Swerve, the AEW World Champion, and Mercedes Moné, the AEW TBS Champion, and NJPW Strong Women's World Champion as well. But yeah, this is big news going to Texas. I've been saying it for years that they should do a pay-per-view in Texas. Texas is always one of their best crowds.
The Dallas Cowboys play?
No, the Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers. So the stadium is actually fairly new.
There's a baseball.
Yeah. Okay. The stadium is actually fairly new. It actually opened up in 2020.
Okay.
The pandemic year, unfortunately. So they used that stadium for the World Series, because what they did was that because of the pandemic,
because it was indoors and
home field was neutral, so they played in Texas for like some of the playoffs, and that was what they played in the World Series. So that stadium has only been open like 5 years.
Okay.
So it's very new. It's a very new stadium.
Huge inside from the pictures, but that's a badass picture and I like that they've showcased 2 women as well as like Swerve there as well. Like they brought these top people. I guess they're showcasing them as top people and saying, hey, this is what we're doing for this next pay-per-view or next event our next big event, which is going to be at that stadium, and it's not in London.
Yeah, it's interesting because, the date being July 12th.
It's in July,
That's going to make like the calendar year for next year. I think they're going to have to do some shuffling because they're not going to do Forbidden Door at the end of June. I don't think they should.
They shouldn't
do it at the end of June like they have done the last few years, if they're doing a major stadium show in the second week of July, that means that we might not get any pay-per-view in August, or they might move up All Out to the end of August to make it a little bit, closer instead of, or go back to Labor Day weekend for All Out.
Do Labor Day weekend.
I think they go back to Labor Day weekend. I think that'll be good for All Out.
It works
more
perfect.
of a gap.
It works around the calendar perfectly around that time.
It's
I think.
better.
Like I just hate. I know it's like scheduling and it's like places that they want to like use, and and those are the dates. Unfortunately, that's what they have to use, because as you go later on during the calendar year, certain events are happening and they just can't use those particular venues. So it kind of like throws us off, but I guess they have to like adjust and like move things around so that they can get what they want to give us per se.
Yeah. I mean, as the Brit, I feel like I should say how sad we all are that we're losing All In next year.
I know.
It's crazy. Like, we all did a lot of complaining last year because it was like the build wasn't great to All In. AEW didn't really treat it like the biggest show of the year last year until the night of the show, and then it felt like the biggest show of the year because Wembley is fucking gigantic and it's got so much history and British culture. It I think it dawned on them on the night, and it was a little bit late, and like. We've always got to temper it, like when we talk about it on my podcast. Like, clearly the number is down this year, but 50,000 people is still 50,000 people. Like, that's in the range of what SummerSlam's done. It's in the range of the top wrestling events of all time outside of WrestleMania. There aren't many.
It was also projected 50K even. I think since last year, I think that was the route they were going to go. Because I think, from what I know, is that they're going for actual stage. I think they're going with actual stage 2, so it's not going to the production itself is going to be bigger
because of Taylor Swift. So I think that what they've got open right now is about that. But they could open more. I don't think they're going to. I think this is going to be the number. And I think there was clearly coming back straight away the year after. They came back next year. Would it be down a little bit more? I think probably. It's probably the smart decision to take a year off from coming to the UK. But it does hurt because it was like, we thought All In was our thing. It was going to be every year and we were going to get it. And maybe it'll drive some more sales this year because people will be like, well, I can't go next year. Who knows? They'll probably do an arena tour in the UK next year rather than a big stadium show. This might be my last chance. So there is that as well. But the big thing I'd say in the UK, it really opens up the market for WWE. There's no venue for SummerSlam next year. They've been talking with the London Mayor about coming over for WrestleMania. I don't think that's going to happen. But could SummerSlam? Could the WWE usurp AEW as the big stadium brand in the UK again? I think they've really left an open door for that to happen. And knowing Triple H and knowing how petty those guys get, I think they're going to make sure that happens before AEW gets a chance to come back and do another stadium show here.
Or they might do the type of deal that they did with Indiana, where they give them a SummerSlam, a WrestleMania, and a Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
and they can go to Wembley Stadium that many times over the next 5 years,
right?
Kind of spread it out. Because I am kind of convinced. I'm not going to say fully convinced, but I'm 65% convinced that WrestleMania 2026 is going to be at Wembley. That will be WrestleMania London. That will be the date because they haven't announced anything like that. We haven't heard any candidates for that year really, other than the meeting that Triple H had with the London mayor. But you're 100% right. They haven't announced SummerSlam for 2025, and they could bring SummerSlam to Wembley Stadium then to kind of fill the void that AEW is leaving.
The one that's 26 is the 3-day one, right? Or the two-day SummerSlam one.
Yeah. But Triple H hinted after this year's SummerSlam that this might be the last one night SummerSlam 2024.
So they're aiming for 25 to be a 2-night event as well. So are we going to make all of the big fours 2 nights now?
Well,
what are we doing now?
That's the trajectory that they're probably going.
And I'm listen. I know it's all business, but it's sometimes that shit is exhausting. I know it takes a toll on the wrestlers and the fans. For you to come back and sit there for another 4 or 5 hour show is a lot. And you also have to think about weather. They didn't think about weather for Philly, obviously. So you have to think about the weather. Like, I don't think people are willing to sit outside in a cold. I mean, they do it for football. So, all right, never mind. Let me take that back.
Yeah, they'll deal with the weather. They're paying their
how about
good
this?
money.
I ain't doing it. That's what I'm going to tell you.
I mean, majority of wrestling fans don't. I mean, they're spoiled and entitled.
I'm not endorsing somebody's booth or box. Count me out, friend. I'll be in my own home, warm, and I can see everything.
Alex Bowles saying they already doing Forbidden Door at January with the Wrestle Dynasty show. No, that's Wrestle Dynasty. That's not Forbidden Door. And Forbidden Door is usually, especially for New Japan, that's their highest kind of like revenue that they make on a US show, because usually for a New Japan USA show, they're doing a 2,000 seater, a 3,000 seater. Forbidden Door the last couple of years has done anything between 9,000 to 15,000, that, and then even with them splitting the revenue and the profit that they make off of that with AEW, it's still New Japan's biggest show in the US that they do all year. So I don't think that they're going to scrap it for or Wrestle Dynasty in Japan.
Yeah, and Dynasty, I think in Dynasty they're promoting it as more of just not AEW, it's more other
collective.
Stardom, ROH, CMLL, yeah.
And it's also going to be New Japan produced, so it's definitely a different feel compared to like Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door just feels like AEW because of the production. So Dynasty is going to feel like New Japan because it's going to be. It's a different feel. I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think they're gonna scrap it because of that.
Yeah, it's either they take Double or Nothing off of Memorial Day weekend and they run it earlier in May, and then they run Forbidden Door earlier in June, or they move Forbidden Door off of June and later in the year. I think something of that matter is probably the move, but knowing AEW, they'll still have Forbidden Door at the end of June and then do a stadium show 2 weeks later.
They're probably going to do that because of the G1. They're probably going to do that because of the G1. Because once the summer starts, I mean, that's G1 season, so you're not going to have a lot of talent.
Yeah, and usually, July 12th would probably be the start of the G1 next year. So, yeah. But you got Mr. Bonda who says Royal Rumble 2 nights, WrestleMania 2 nights, Money in the Bank 2 nights, SummerSlam 2 nights, Survivor Series 2 nights, best for business. Yes, best viewing experience, not so much.
Nope, exactly.
Hey, WWE knows what they're doing. I won't argue with them. But
they got to make the investment back for TKO. They got to make their money back.
Yeah. But it seems that AEW is not going to just stop with Texas possibly next year with a stadium show there. It looks like AEW might be making its first trip down under next year. According to a report by the Sporting News, All Elite Wrestling is planning a stadium show in Australia for later in 2025. Per the report, AEW has reportedly been scouting venues along Australians' East Coast for the show. This would mark AEW's first event in the region. I think it's Alliance Stadium in Sydney, Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, and Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane are said to all be potential venues for the upcoming event. Additionally, the report notes that the entertainment company TEG is backing the venue and backing the event. WWE held a stadium show earlier this year in Perth, Australia, with WWE Elimination Chamber Perth. The event was held at Optus Stadium and drew an announced attendance of over 52,000 people. In 2018, WWE held Super Showdown at the MCG with an announced attendance of over 70,000 people. AEW has not yet officially announced plans for a stadium show in Australia. Some of the Australian wrestlers on the AEW roster include Aussie Open, Mark Davis, and Kyle Fletcher. Davis is currently injured. Also, Tony Storm helms from New Zealand, and so it would at least be a chance for her to perform closer to her home country. The Sporting News also notes that AEW has not yet locked in the date for the Australian show. The company schedule for next year is still wide open. AEW will hold this next stadium event, of course, next Sunday with AEW All in London. And AEW is also set to take part in the Wrestle Dynasty show, a co-promoted wrestling event early next year. The show will be held at the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan on January 5th, 2025. It will feature wrestlers from AEW, NJPW, Stardom, Ring of Honor, and CMLL. The event will be held the night after New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 19, also held at the Tokyo Dome. During the press conference for the AEW All in Texas event, AEW President and CEO Tony Khan confirmed that All In will return to London, England in 2026. Tony Khan noted that during the press conference, and I quote, he says that we will be going back just 10 days from now to Wembley Stadium and celebrating All In 2024, and we can't wait to bring All In 2025 here in Texas. It's going to be very special. You know, we're going to London next week, then coming to Texas, and we'll be going back to London in 2026, but coming here for this event is very special. It does mark our first pay-per-view event in Texas, and it also marks AEW's first stadium ever in America. So the question is, can AEW sell out in Texas? That's a 40,000 seat stadium for All in Texas. But also, what do you think about AEW going over to Australia? And can they do 2 big stadium shows in 1 year next year? Josh, what do you think?
That's a good question. Damn. I think they could. I think it's possible. I think it's possible because, again, both events are something basically new, right? A lot of people, a lot of fans, knowing how they are, right? If you hear something that's for like the first time, right? Like, hey, this is AEW's first stadium show, that's gonna draw a lot of people there. But then also, I think Texas is pretty easy to travel to. And also there's like no state taxes over there. So that's a plus if people want to think about that. But then also, right, everyone was talking about Texas needed a pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view. They got it. So hopefully people show out. People you show out. You got what you wanted. You got the biggest show possible in the United States. So I mean, you can't go wrong with that. As far as Australia, I also think it's possible. Just because, again, it's a new market. They also been getting feedback over there. That's the reason why they've been targeting that. I know a lot of people, a lot of mostly grifters, you know, they think they won't do well or like why they're going to Australia, you know. But at the same time, there's a reason why they're doing it. You know, they do have an analytics team. They do have, you know, they do get a lot of feedback. Australia is a wrestling market. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know that you know, a lot of wrestling is there. So again, there'll be another situation where, hey, AEW is coming to Australia for the first time. All that attracts a lot of wrestling fans. So I think it's possible. I mean, sellouts, I don't know. I don't think they should be aiming for sellouts. If you draw more than you expected, I think that's a bonus. That's a plus. If you make record revenue for the company, that's all that matters. I think anything is possible. I think both, if they were to do both in a year, I think it would do great, regardless of what people want to think or the perception of all. Like, they don't sell weekly shows. Regardless, this is something that's pretty new. So again, within that alone, there's gonna be an attraction there.
Yeah, they just have to get better with like the marketing and promotion. I disagree with this whole thing with Aubrey saying the product needs to be good next year. AEW has been cold lately. If the shows are good, the people will come. That's not true.
No,
the show is consistently good. It's not anything to do with the quality of why AEW was cold. That's the only factual thing you said. AEW is cold, but it has nothing to do with the quality of the product. It has more to do with perception and the fact that that WWE is so hot that in comparison, yes, AEW is 100% cold, but it has nothing to do with the quality of show, and not just having a good show is going to make people come. That is a false, 100% false, and that's been proven false by AEW the last 2 years. Benno, what do you think about AEW potentially doing 2 stadium shows, and what do you think they can do with those 2 stadium shows if they do that next year?
More bullish on Texas, definitely, because you can make that like a WrestleMania weekend feeling thing for like the more hardcore fans. Absolutely, I could see that coming close. Australia is funny, like in our little like Discord we've got, and most of the Australians I speak to, most of them aren't that confident. Like they think it'll do well, but WWE is, as in most places, the dominant brand there. AEW doesn't have a great TV deal over there. Obviously, there's always Triller and other means and ways people watch it. But most of the Australians I've spoken to have thought that it's a brave decision. I don't think it'll be a flop by any means, but depends on the size of obviously the stadium they go with, and obviously they've got choices there. I think a lot of not being Australian, you kind of don't realise the fucking size and scope of the place. Melbourne isn't near Sydney. That a lot of those places are very isolated, and as far as travel goes, if it feels like a big show, yes, people will come. But I do think there's an upper limit on that. But again, it's you want to spread your wings, you want to do that. Explains why there's not an all in the UK next year. Like international big shows has been WWE's MO the last year or so, so it makes sense for AEW to try and get some of that pie. But it's not. AEW isn't massively hot right now, so there will need to be a lot of work done. Like I think one of the big things I kind of learned from going to the week I was at Forbidden Door and then going to Money in the Bank the week after with WWE. You go to a WWE pay-per-view weekend, you can't escape that WWE are in town. Like they are everywhere. It's very clear it's going on. There are shoulder events, there's press things going on, there's the Superstore, that type of thing. When AEW came to Wembley last year, didn't do a lot of that stuff. Even this year, as you know, SB3, don't think you've had the reply from the media people yet. I haven't, but no information on whether they're doing any press events next week. They're just, because they're a younger company, understandably, they don't have those things in place. They don't take over towns like WWE do. And as they get to be a more mature company, they do need to get better at those things. And
when it comes to that, I agree with that.
I was about to say they need to probably hire and start like getting people to like do those things.
Use that so that TV money.
Correct. Exactly. Yes. Because they can definitely, it's a market that can definitely be done, especially like your merch is not always like.
I mean, the merch thing. I mean, that's a whole different story. Because
that's a whole thing. But like Ben was saying, like their PR and their media department are not good. They're not
that's what I'm
good.
saying.
They're not good at replying back. They're not good at setting things up. Like you had Bryan Danielson in London and England, and he didn't even do all the kind of interviews that he was supposed to do. I have good friends in the media world that were supposed to have interviews with Bryan Danielson, but the media department never got back to them. Like it's those inner workings type of areas where they are really like not even like a step behind WWE. They are miles behind WWE. WWE is here in London, and then the AEW department is in like Antarctica. It's like it's a deep gap as far as PR,
and it's understandable too, isn't it? It's a criticism, but it's a good faith criticism because we all know it's a young company. WWE's got a foothold in the market for years and years. But exactly. Like WWE come over and like. Their guys will be on actual TV. Their guys will be on talk shows. Their guys will be doing real promotion. MJF was over last week, and he did a lot of podcasts. He did a lot of YouTube channels, and that's all good stuff. But they clearly don't have those inroads that WWE do, and that comes with being a young company. But it makes it harder to take over towns and do these big stadium shows.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that's fair. I think that's a fair criticism. And because I dealt with it myself when I was trying to get media passes, and then I didn't get a response until like a week before. I'm like, oh, thank you guys, thank you for letting me know.
I booked that flight now.
And I think it has to do with like maybe the size of the team. Like they need a bigger, like they need to put more structure on that. Because again, the more people you have, WWE, they're freaking basically they're built off of market. They're built off of that. They're kind of like the NBA. Right? Yeah. The NBA, they're very big on that. A lot of the money that comes in from the NBA is marketing, is stuff like that. So like if AEW was to go that route, they definitely would need to make a bigger team. Of course, that means putting more money into it. But guess what? The more money you put into something and it works, guess what? The more money you're getting back. So they also have to look at it like that. They have to look at it like that. And like you said, like WWE, when they come, like when they have a big show and they coming into town, they do it like everything like within the week, like right. They're doing like media, they're doing even like store appearances, like for like if they're doing like cricket or like those kind of stores like that. All those things matter because people are, they hear about it, people are going to it, they're promoting their brand. That's what WWE has always done well. When it comes to media, when it comes to stuff like that, because they know, hey, like the little things that we say, hey, people are gonna notice it. Oh, WWE's having a big show in town. Oh, it might have people to go, but they're getting the word out there. But with AEW, it's like even like when Forbidden Door was coming to New York, it was like nothing. It was like nothing was going on until like the day of the show, and you get there. Even though the USB Center, they're people. The staff sucks over there. But anyway, yeah.
Even there though, did you notice that at the UBS, like they have like the advertisement for like the shows? Didn't say Forbidden Door anywhere. There were no big like screens that said the show was going on today.
It didn't at all. Like they were promoting like other like concerts and other events, but they weren't like really heavy on AEW stuff. And then again, like even like when you got inside the merch stand, that was by far the worst merch stand I've ever seen in my life. Like it's not even close.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
It was all like Forbidden Door brand and like NYC brand. I was like, come on, like I rarely get like event brand stuff like that. But when I saw that, I was like, I'm not giving a bother. I'm saving a lot of money.
And I think that's really important in that, like, again, it was just an interesting experiment being there, and then Money in the Bank. At Money in the Bank, just wall to wall, it was dudes in Heat t-shirts and WWE merch. And it's like, that's another part of spreading the awareness that they're in town.
Yeah.
That's part of, it gets people over. You see a lot of Jey Uso t-shirts, you realize how Jey Uso is. It kind of adds to the feeling that, he's a big star in that ecosystem. At AEW, the only people who are wearing AEW merch are the people who bought it online weeks before. Like, it's easy wins, isn't it? There's probably a spreadsheet somewhere that says, well, if we don't take too many t-shirts, we'll make this much profit. But you've got to think of the bigger picture about making the brand bigger and super serving your fans, letting people be excited about you guys. It's all obvious.
Yeah, and I know like I've spoken to like a few people within pro wrestling tees about that. And the problem with that too is that the communication between them is not bad communication, but they're basically doing what AEW want. Like whoever is running like their merch stuff, they're basically just letting pro wrestling tees know, hey, this is what we want for the show. All right, we're just gonna send those. That's what you really want. Like they've been wanting to do more, but because whatever they're under contract with, when it comes, because Pro Wrestling Tees is their main source of like merch, they basically just do what AEW is asking for. And I'm like, if this is what they're asking for, then that's a problem. Because I'm like, you're not like MJF was in his hometown on Long Island. There was no MJF stuff. Like that's
it really wasn't. Yeah, well, that was it.
That's a problem. I was like, that alone is a problem. Because I'm like, he had that shirt, that wolf shirt that came out. Like, I'm like, if they would have had that there, I would have gotten that night. And like, I'm like, you see, like that's the problem too. Because I'm like,
their merch, when they have their events, it's very disappointing not to have. And then you don't even have like your top stars merch there. There was no Will Ospreay at any point that I wanted a t-shirt, and there was nothing that it had nothing with him and Swerve for that event. Like they just had like the everyone's face on. Like how many times you gotta get everybody's fucking face on a fucking t-shirt? I know what they look like. Like I don't want that though. I was here. I know I was here. I got my fucking ticket to show that I was fucking here. I don't need the t-shirt to tell me that I was here. But you gotta have like your top stars. There was no really. It was very disappointing for Forbidden Door. It was so disappointing not to get any type of like good merch.
And then if you order at Shop AEW with Pro Wrestling Tees, you got to do that a month before a show if you want to wear that at the show. You can't do it like 2 weeks before like a WWE show. You get something online, you'll get it in like a week or two. It's like a month you have to wait for Pro Wrestling Tees at Shop AEW. But these are all things come from good faith fans of the product. Totally. We just want to see them improve on these notes because it will help the brand awareness. And most of all, once again, the key word here, perception. Perception for AEW is an issue. We got to improve on that. But final AEW note before we get into last Saturday's Collision and last night's Rampage. It was previously reported at F4W Online's Bryan Alvarez that the reason the Young Bucks missed 2 weeks in AEW recently was due to a limited amount of dates on their contracts. Prior to this past week's AEW Dynamite, the Bucks hadn't appeared since the Blood and Guts show. However, a new report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that their absence had been a long-planned one, as the two were scheduled to take time off to sell injuries from Blood and Guts. They had planned vacations with their families and planned to take that time after the big violent cage match. Their current contract does include fewer dates, as well as making sure they don't use up too many dates on shows. However, they have yet to actually run through all their contracted dates. This time off was agreed to months ago. With the amount of dates they have left, they will likely not be on every Dynamite by the end of December, but will be there most weeks. It was noted that they are not signed to a part-time deal as of yet. But I mean, even with the 2 weeks that they took off after Blood and Guts, I don't know what they have done with the Elite storyline. Should have been the biggest thing of this year, and they just totally shit the bed with that after Double or Nothing, where it felt like the Elite were off of TV much longer than 2 weeks. I don't know about y'all. That's how I felt with them being away. I was just like, those 2 weeks felt like months.
No, it's true. There's always something, I don't know, like it's like they get fucking momentum and then all of a sudden it kind of just gets stagnated and then it goes nowhere. I think the whole thing with the Acclaim has hurt them because nobody wants to watch the Acclaim and nobody wants to. No offense. I mean, again, like we've been saying it.
Not everybody loves the Acclaim.
I mean, fucking Anthony Bowens needs to get off. He needs to get out of that group because I think he's by far the best member. Although, so like, it's one of those things where I think that hasn't helped, and I don't know. After All In, let's see where it goes from there. But I think a lot of people were worried about that. Once the Acclaim got involved, people were not excited about that, and you kind of start to see why people weren't excited.
Acclaimed used to be my go-to when you'd have the merch conversation. I'd be like, they need to get Acclaimed foam fingers out there. I'm past that point now. That window came and went because now it's like the Acclaimed, like they're so stale, aren't they? But like that,
and it has nothing to do with Bowens. It has nothing to do with Bowens.
Not his
it has
fault
to
at
do
all.
more with his other partner. It has to do with more with Max Caster.
He looks checked out, doesn't he? He looks like he doesn't want to be there. He sounds like he doesn't want to be there. It's strange. And the books are the books. It's weird. Like they got this new fresh set of paint, this new character. Kind of feels a little stale already. Maybe it's just the nonsensical nature, like you say. The weeks out. It's the fact that none of these it's Team AEW versus Team Elite, and the future of the company it rests in this match. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter who wins or loses.
No one's gonna say
Christopher Daniels, Tony Khan, and the books. Who's in charge? None of us know. It's like it's not consistent from one week to the next. Like what power the books actually have, what power Chris Daniels has. So none of it means anything, does it? And it's really stale right now.
Yeah,
they're just waiting for Shane McMahon to sign so he could join the Elite.
The Bucks in this same year had some of the best character work. The build up to Sting and Darby and their
was great.
Their performance in that matchup was some of the best work of their whole career. And then the first month or so after the whole Tony Khan angle, that was really good. They did the Tony Khan angle, they did the Kenny Omega angle. They felt like the biggest thing. They were doing show long narratives with them taking control of the company. And then after Double or Nothing, they just said, you know what? We're going to shift this down. We're going to have them feud with the Acclaim. And this is now the third feud in a row the Acclaim have drugged down the person they're feuding with. They did it with House of Black last year. They did it with the Bang Bang Gang earlier in the year, and then
they made us hate the Bang Bang. Well, not hate, but like they
lowered them.
They're
not elevating up to their opponent's level. They're bringing them down.
That went longer than it should have.
The Bang Bang Gang was supposed to be top guy, top elite thing, a faction, and you made the faction all right, when are we going to let Jay White be by himself? Because I'm tired of him dragging these other guys with him. Because Jay White is way bigger than this. He's not a babysitter.
At least
But
Billy
here we
Gunn
go.
got some TV time, eh? That makes the Acclaim worth it. Good lord, like he
Yeah,
loves
we got
it.
we got one of the worst matches of the year: Billy Gunn versus Jay White because of that.
Oh.
So sad.
AEW Collision last week. The show was up in the ratings, 370,000 viewers. The show featured House of Black and the Bang Bang Gang going to a draw after special referee Christian Cage cheated them by counting both teams out. He was a great referee and had a better referee shirt than Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. Sorry, Seth. The patriarchy then laid out all 6 men with a post-match beatdown to stand tall and to wipe out their top 2 contenders for the Trios Championships. You also had AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland with an open challenge eliminator matchup, which was accepted by Tomohiro Ishii. This wound up being a very good bout with Swerve picking up the victory over Ishii. FTR picked up a win over the Outrunners in tag team action. Meanwhile, other tag team action saw Darby Allin teaming up with Hologram to beat Premier Athletes in a fun opener. And in the match of the night on this show, it was Thunder Rosa defeating Deonna Purrazzo in a bloody Texas death match. This brought Thunder Rosa back to her like Britt Baker rivalry with the amount of blood she shed in a really, really damn good matchup here. So good stuff from them. Then you also had
That should have been on damn
Rampage.
Dynamite.
I agree, but it wouldn't have been in Texas. The Rampage last night, you had the show featured Top Flight in brand new flight attendant attire.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
What
Okay.
do
Okay.
we do?
Okay. Can I just say something before you even change the picture? Looking at this aesthetic wise, it looks pretty good. I'm sure the delivery was flat as fuck, though. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They look like flight attendant strippers.
So lame. it's such an obviously I love AEW, but like it's such an obvious AEW problem, isn't it? Because off screen as well, I think Leo Rush was with them too. So it's just that combination of like a stable of too many people all together, a lame irony gimmick that wouldn't have been out of place in Chikara 10 years ago. It's just this isn't it, is it for them? Not at all.
Okay, so
This wouldn't look out of place in NXT 2.0.
Yeah.
No. This would go perfect for NXT 2.0. However, I feel like yes, they can be probably like Magic Mike dancers getting ready for a house party or some shit like that. You could tell the shirts are very cheesy. Like this could have been delivered. This could have been done very, very differently if they had the right people to do this shit. The right way.
Yeah, believe me and SP3 were pretty vocal about it on Twitter.
Okay.
But they did pick up the victory against one of the
and
better
they wrestled
acts
in the pants too.
Yes, they did. Against one of the better acts in
Oh
AEW right now.
You should have just did a vignette or something. Oh my god. Okay.
MXM collection in a decent main event. Top Flight picking up the victory. You also had Nick Wayne defeated Kip Sabian in a grudge match. The conglomerations, Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii, and Mark Briscoe beat the Butcher and the Outrunners in trios action, while Saraya called out the company for her mistreatment over the past year after winning the AEW Women's World Championship in Wembley Stadium and not having a match for this year's show before timeless Toni Storm challenged her to an AEW Women's World Championship matchup next Wednesday on Dynamite from Cardiff. And if Saraya wins, she gets the title and the match at All In. So hey, they finally paid off on Saraya's multiple promos complaining about not having a match at All In. So
I think
I'm
not complaining she hasn't got a match at All In, but I think she's going to be there to bump for Jamie Hayter, isn't she? That's going to be the big moment.
Now that's my bag because I didn't have this in the reports because we haven't got like any like concrete reporting on this. It was more kind of vaguely talked about by Ibu of Wrestler Purists as well as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, but apparently there is some type of backstage heat between Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter that they have kind of alluded to on podcasts. And
what?
I mean, I wasn't shocked at all because Jamie Hayter got over and became a bigger star. And we all know Britt Baker don't like anyone becoming a bigger star than her.
And there's several people that are bigger stars than her that are there.
What do you think, Benno, about all the Jamie Hayter? I mean, all the Britt Baker news that we gotten with the whole argument and backstage incident with MJF and Will Ospreay, and now this kind of vague, not yet concrete report about her and Jamie Hayter having some type of heat.
I was kind of like hoping we get a scoop because when I was stood next to you at your call, Alicia Atoot was there, wasn't she? She was sat down, basically looking at her phone the entire show, apart from when MJF wrestled. But I was like, if I was sat in the row behind her, I'd be looking over her shoulder, going, "Any scoops here? What's going on?" Like it's one of those things, isn't it? It's hard with locker rooms, men's and women's. You know, these types of silly beefs happen, but when you see the same name over and over again in certain issues, like it does make you think there's something to that. Britt Baker's one of those people where, like, I can't help it now when I see her on screen. She's supposed to be this likable babyface, isn't she? You can't help but like think about what she's been up to backstage and who she's been arguing with today. There's no smoke without fire usually with these things. I know locker rooms are going to be locker rooms, but not good really. And yeah, again, if that's going to mean we don't get a payoff to the story with Jamie Hayter, then we lose that too, which is a shame. Although you probably can't do that now with Britt being a face, but there was obviously an angle that you could have done there with them too, and yeah, that'll be lost to time now because of some kind of backstage squabble.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's fixable because I think that the logical move was to have Mercedes win next Sunday, have her and Camille jumper, and then Jamie Hayter comes out to a huge pop to make the save to set up a tag team matchup at All Out. And then you could immediately have Britt turn on her there because I think that they're at the point that the suspension and all the news coming out about Britt, it's too overwhelming, and now it's kind of killed a lot of the anticipation for the Britt and Mercedes because I don't think they're the people that are in the know, that are up to date on the reports. I don't think they can get behind Britt Baker the same way they did back at Forbidden Door anymore.
Totally.
It's too much damage and tarnishments of like reports of like her being herself.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like y'all literally did a reality show that exposed her. Do y'all not remember that? Y'all did reality show that AEW All Access did more damage for Britt Baker than anybody in the company.
Her and Brandy, the Brandy and Cody stuff when they were showing that as well.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
Oh, man,
He did worse for people than And look at Brandy; she's just sitting in the background, just you ain't seen her since. I mean, you've seen her a couple times, but like she don't be outside.
Shows up every so often with.
There you go. That's it. That's how it should be.
Absolutely.
Give
Good
more
line
lemon,
in the
more
sense.
lemonade. I mean,
Oh man, we got Even Bell saying All Elite High School resident mean girl Britt Baker. Yes, seems so. But in actual news notes, both Evo of WrestlePeris and Fightful Select are reporting that a rematch between Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland is in the works for AEW All Out 2024. This year's AEW All Out will be held in Chicago, Illinois, just under 2 weeks after AEW All in London at Wembley Stadium. Swerve Strickland is currently scheduled to defend the AEW World title against Bryan Danielson next Sunday. Danielson is putting his career on the line for the upcoming bout, while AEW has not yet announced Hangman facing Swerve or Danielson at the event. AEW All Out 2024 will be held at Chicago's Now Arena on Saturday, September 7th. On Dynamite, it was also announced that Pac will face either MJF or Will Ospreay for the AEW American International Championship at All Out as well. But as far as Swerve and Hangman, if I get the result that I think we're going to get with Bryan Danielson winning the AEW World title at All In, I think that this is a miscalculation to do Swerve and Hangman without the title being on the line at All Out 2 weeks later. Even though you've done all the build to that, like, honestly, this feud, like, even though I'm into the whole Swerve and Bryan, and I thought over the last month, they have made that feel like a huge, huge main event matchup, one of the biggest main events that they've ever had. Swerve and Hangman should have main evented All In. I still can't get off of that
You know
argument.
what's so funny?
That argument's still
You're not the only person that has said that. I've had like several like wrestling friends like say, you know, I am like a big Danielson fan and whatnot, and it's just like I'm so happy that he's got this opportunity, but they missed the ball by not like making it Hangman and Swerve at Wembley.
The biggest match they can do, isn't it? And it's supposed to be the biggest show.
And it could have been like another like Texas, like it could have been like another like crazy match where it would have just been like outstanding because that live crowd would have just like ate it all up.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get away with it. I remember when they were first teasing that it didn't feel like it was going to be the All In match. Logically, I can see the argument. You know, all the other big matches are happening at All In. This is the one we'll hold back for All Out. But it's the biggest one, isn't it? And it's like,
and you want it at the biggest stage.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait for it. But
yeah, right.
If it's non-title, I'm not so much against that, just because it is such a blood feud and it'd be so hated, and it gives like an extra dynamic to the Hangman character. Like he's even angry now. He can't even get the world title off of Swerve. It adds a little bit of a dynamic there. But I do see what you're saying, SP3. Yeah, the title might have made sense too.
Yeah, I can see it. If it's in a steel cage and it comes off of Hangman costing Swerve the world title at All In, I'm here. I'll be here for it. But I just think that it's a miscalculation, that it just feels once again that AEW has the right idea for the wrong time. And that seems, I've said that a lot about AEW. They have right ideas, but it's the wrong timing on it. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But AEW did make a big, not big signing, but another signing this week. Fightful Select reports that AEW has signed the Dynamite kid Tommy Billington to a contract after he recently worked a couple of matches for them, previously wrestling Konosuke Takeshita and Dax Harwood on recent episodes of Collision. His matches impressed people backstage, and talent close to him say that he was signed after those matches. It's unknown if it was a full-time deal or a tiered deal at this point. There was also said to be interest from NXT in him. As for Mark Billington, I believe this is his cousin, it's believed that he was injured during a matchup for Dungeon Wrestling in December. Dax Harwood talked on an Instagram Live about how the newly signed roster member had interest from WWE. He said, "I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he told me that some of his financial woes, he moved himself all the way to Canada to better his opportunities for wrestling. He told me about his financial woes, and I told him that night, after tonight, we're going to get you a job." We had the match. Obviously, he showed out. He was offered a contract on the spot right there and then, and he didn't accept just yet, but he was offered a contract on the spot. The very next day, WWE also reached out to someone close to Tommy and asked about getting him there. There was, I don't want to say a bidding war, but there was a bit of power plays, and Tom decided he wanted to come to AEW. I think you'll see more of Tom Billington in AEW to come. Billington previously noted that Bret Hart sat down with him to watch his matchup with Dax and was complimentary of both of them. I love the fact that WWE, through these reports, have made it quite obvious they watch AEW to recruit.
Even bigger. My favorite thing there is it's very clearly Bret Hart that's gotten that phone call. Somebody close to Billington's eye. It's funny though, because you mentioned Mark Billington. That guy fucking sucks. Like, Tommy is the good one. Like, they were so bad. Like, even going back like 3 years ago on the British Indies, they were awful. They didn't know psychology. They just went out there and did the Dynamite Kids moves with no understanding of where they should do them in the match. It was like when you hear like a Jim Cornette talk about like circus acts in wrestling and acrobats. That's what they were like, but doing a Dynamite Kid tribute. It was the weirdest thing. And I always hear from people, Tommy's the better one. Tommy understands wrestling more. He's going to do it. And very clearly he's the better of the two. And he's looked good. There's maybe an upper limit on what you can really do with this kind of act, but it's a nice story, and you know he's clearly impressed on his few appearances.
Yeah, and if you could get Bret Hart back on, that would be a nice little thing to do as well. Why not?
Yep.
Final two AEW notes before we move on. AEW Wrestle Dream has an official date and location. It was revealed last Sunday on Twitter that the show will take place in Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington on October 12th. So looking forward to that. And then in an update on Daniel Garcia's AEW contract status. As previously noted, his contract is set to expire in the fall. Fightful Select reports that Garcia's contract is up in October, and that while one top name in the company had believed he would stay as of last week, he has not yet signed a new deal. Garcia has been off TV since he was assaulted by MJF in the latter's heel turn at the start of July. AEW is interested in retaining him, but there has been some interest in him from WWE as well. Krssi Luv, I'll ask you, 0 to 100. What do you think about Daniel Garcia potentially going to WWE?
Definitely go to NXT. Can't go to the main roster for sure. 43%.
That's pretty high. Is it?
I thought that was actually really low. If you're talking about,
I'm at like 25% him going to WWE because I don't see what his prospects would be like on a Raw and SmackDown. I think that he would be pushed very, very highly on an NXT, but after that, I don't know.
That's it. That's all it's gonna be, right?
Yeah,
Benno, what about
you?
If
I was him, I think I'd take the leap. Because, again, AEW stylistically is the right place for him. Absolutely the best matches that he could do are in AEW. It seems, by all accounts, the best fit. But we've seen what AEW do with him.
Come talk to John Moxley.
He has, yeah, there we go, yeah, that's true. But he has like those stop pushes. It never seems to go anywhere. They've promised him another one. It'll probably end up in the same place. It's the unknown in WWE, but I wonder if I'd take the gamble, like you say. NXT, I think they'd really like him. You know, they'll push Sean Spears, Ethan Page as the champion. I think he'd get one of those, like, famed, what seems to be now. Instead of, like, where Vince would bury you if you came from outside, Triple H and Shawn Michaels seem to give you a spite push instead. And it's like to spite AEW. It's a petty push. We're going to get you over.
That's only going to last for, like, how long?
Yeah, that's true. There's a limit. And maybe NXT is the limit of that. Maybe the main roster doesn't work out. But he's still young. I think if I was him, I'd take the risk. And if it doesn't work out, go back to AEW with not much lost.
Maybe they don't want you to come back then. Like, you want to come back? No.
I think it's different than the Lucha Bros. If I'm him, I would take the chance on AEW actually going through on the push this time instead of taking the risk to go to WWE, because it felt like he was on the trajectory up. Like they were putting him in programs and big matches with MJF and Will Ospreay. And then he also has to look at the kind of the other people that are like above him and where they're going to go, like a Bryan Danielson, who says that this is the end of his full-time run. A John Moxley, who doesn't even, he's finally took a vacation, and it doesn't seem like he's coming back for a very, very long time. Eddie Kingston is out injured. Adam Copeland is out injured. Like, there's so many different guys that you would say were above him that are kind of slowly dropping off, where you can rise up to the ranks and be like the next top guy. It's you and Darby Allin. Those are like the two guys that have like a trajectory that I feel is going up on AEW, where I would say take the risk of staying with AEW. That's why I'm at like a 25% of him going.
This is why he's struggling. He's probably got people in both ears telling him both of those arguments, and he can't seem to make a decision by all accounts.
Facts. I think that's where he's at right now. Josh, you want to give a percentage?
I think like 20%. Like 20%, because Dan Garcia, in comparison to like Ethan Page, they're doing more with Dan Garcia and his strongest point, which is the wrestling, and that's what they really look for. So to me, I'm like, they've done more with Daniel Garcia, and they've seen how the crowd gets behind them. This is somebody you could legit, I don't want to say make a star, but definitely a top tier guy that you could rely on. People will love him. I mean, that's what you want. And that's why I think that's why there's a more of an advantage of him staying in AEW than like a Ethan Page, where Page was kind of like in this vortex of like a tag team. They were getting TV time, but then there wasn't much wrestling from him. And for him going to NXT, I think that was a better move for him, because they weren't doing much with him in AEW anyway. And then by the time they would do something meaningful, nobody cared in AEW. Like that's just the truth when it comes to that. And we seen with Daniel Garcia, like how the crowd got behind him when he got his ass beat by MJF when MJF turned on him. But then also it's just a fact of NXT. That's basically his highest ceiling would be NXT, because I really don't see anything significant happening on the main roster. And because of all the things that Daniel Garcia has done already in AEW, I don't know if like you put the title on him at NXT, which I think it would be a petty push, but it's like I really wouldn't want that from him. I'm like, don't give him a push because see, this is what we could do for you, and you give him a title, like I just wouldn't want that to happen again. They already did that for Paige. I just wouldn't want to see that, but I do get I do understand the aspect of like, hey, something new, something fresh might, it's there's an interest there. So that's where I agree with Benno with when it comes to like, hey, something fresh, something new, you don't know, but then at the same time it's like with WWE, you already know there's a ceiling when it comes to that, and that's probably NXT. With AEW, I think, like there's a lot more, not only a higher ceiling, but because of what he's done already, he's developed the character. There's things that they've done for him already that I think that if they continue to build on, something big might happen for him there.
Yeah. But we have to note, because we're in the converse, there was some AEW activity at the show. Me and Benno saw each other at Rev Pro Summer Sizzle last Sunday. That show from your call featured MJF, the AEW American Champion, defeating Michael Oku in an excellent main event to retain the AEW American Championship. Post-match, MJF hit Oku with the Tiger Driver 91. He then attempted to hit it on Oku's girlfriend and manager, Amira, until Will Ospreay made the save, making a surprise appearance. And then he vowed that he would use the Tiger Driver 91 at All In if he has to. You also had Luke Jacobs, the number one contender for Michael Oku's Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, beat Trevor Lee, a.k.a. the former Cameron Grimes, in a great matchup. Donovan Dijak beat Robbie X in a brilliant David versus Goliath battle. Post-match, you had NJPW star and Bullet Club War Dogs member Gabe Kidd challenge Dijak to a matchup at Rev Pro's 11th anniversary event during All In weekend. Dijak accepted and cut a scathing promo comparing Kidd in the Bullet Club to Disco Inferno in the NWO. You also had Leon Slater defeated Jack Cartwheel in a fun bout. The Sunshine Machine became the number one contenders for the Rev Pro Undisputed British Tag Team titles, and Danny Luna retained the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Championship in a very good matchup with Nina Samuels. Over on ROH TV on Honor Club, the show featured Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs beating Cage of Agony via disqualification to retain the titles after interference from the Undisputed Kingdom and Dark Order, which led to
matches to do.
Yep, and main event matches too. Show closing beatdown from the heels. You also had Mark Briscoe beat Johnny TV in a solid opener to retain the ROH World title. Post-match, he challenged Beast Mortals to a title match next week. Atlantis Jr. beat Arabi Eagles in a very good matchup to retain the ROH World TV title. And Leo Rush defeated Blake Christian in an awesome showcase bout of high flying and speed action. Our good friend and Benno's very good friend, Stephanie Chase, did an interview with Michael Oku where he confirmed that he had recently had talks with AEW CEO Tony Khan and AEW about possibly working with the promotion. Oku said, "I'm trying to find the right way to answer this. I think that the most I can confirm is that there's been contact made, which obviously makes sense. I wrestled Will earlier in the year in front of Tony Khan. I got to meet Tony Khan and have a conversation with him there at the venue as it happened. This match happens with MJF. They posted my promo on their channels. They promoting this. So there's been contact to allow these things to happen with AEW. So there's been contact of what we can potentially do in the future. I'll leave it there." Wembley Stadium, in my head, I was like, it would be cool if I won this title. They have a non-title. They don't need the title. And I wrestle someone for the title at Wembley Stadium. But I would love to have a step up from last year. It was cool to experience being around the boys and girls in the back, to do something, to be involved and have some kind of role in the show. But I feel I've made enough of a name for myself in this country that if a big show's happening in this country, there's enough of a crossover with AEW fans, at least the UK fans, that there would be some interest to see me do something, if it's small, but a wrestling capacity as Michael Oku as the wrestler on the show. Fightful Select reports that Oku and Amira are both expected to work with AEW during the Cardiff taping of Dynamite, as well as All In. The report goes on to note that sources in Rev Pro told Corey Brenner that both stars are close to signing with the company and are expected to do so soon. No deal has been signed as of yet. Sources within AEW would not confirm the information, but said that they wouldn't be surprised to see the two end up on AEW's UK events. Several other talent in Rev Pro expressed hope that Oku would sign with the company and said that he's deserving of it. The sources in the UK company reinforced the notion that both Oku and Amira will be featured at All In. We saw Oku be featured on Dynamite this week when they showed highlights of the MJF match. I thought the MJF match was excellent. Was excellent at Rev Pro last Sunday, but I know you have more experience seeing Oku. What do you think about Oku potentially coming to AEW, Benno?
Yeah, I mean, I love Oku. He's a great dude, and he deserves the best. And I want to see him in a mirror, like, push on. He's a smart guy as well, because I saw, like, in the interview we did with Steph, which she did a great job on. Seen a lot of those quotes everywhere. One that does get left out a lot in places is that he's fully aware that AEW is a very packed shop and they've got a lot of wrestlers. He says that also, as you've noted there, as well as, you know, kind of talking around the possibility he will definitely be involved in Cardiff. I won't be shocked by that. He'll definitely be in the casino battle royal, whatever it's called. That'll be happening again at Wembley.
Can he win it though?
No, but I think they'll find he'll be there. He'll get a good pop.
No,
but I don't. That's the thing, though. As much as I like him, and I think he's got the talent there, I don't actually know where he fits in AEW. I can't really picture what they do with him longer term. I almost think like New Japan missed the window with Oku. Like, very clearly, that was the landing spot for him, especially with the Rev Pro New Japan relationship. I'm still shocked that didn't happen. Again, I'd be happy for him if he landed there, and he deserves the contract, but I can't picture it, SB3. I just can't think, like, what is he like? Is he like a mid-card guy? Is he on Rampage? Like, what does he actually do in AEW when they've got such a stacked roster, as talented and great as he is?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like he would be more of a better fit in like the New Japan Junior Heavyweight division than in AEW. If AEW had something like that, then I could see him easily kind of being a star for that division. I don't know like necessarily what he would do like week to week, unless Will is going to start his own United Empire with like Fletcher and Oku. I could see something like that, and Mark Davis when he eventually comes, where you can have Will as the main eventer, Aussie Open as the tag team, and then Michael Oku as the up and comer. That would be like a new United Empire. I would like that, but I don't know if that's the direction that they're going to go. But I do agree. That's the only question about Oku in AEW is where he would find a spot to be a consistent kind of presence and TV character. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where right now he's British Macho Man to Amira's British Miss Elizabeth. I do like that. I like that.
I like that. That's actually pretty cool.
It works. And obviously Rev Pro, like, he's the top guy there as well. It'd be such a loss if he left and went to AEW. But that's the nature of being a company like Rev Pro, isn't it? People are going to pass through and move up. But selfishly, we'd miss that too.
Yeah, but I think that Luke Jacobs needs to win the title next Saturday.
I think that's happening.
What do you think?
Yeah. I think most likely, I think they're going with that, and it's going to be. I know Oku's character's always been like underdog world champion in Rev Pro. It's not going to hurt him to put Luke over. Feels right, which is crazy because Luke's crazy young himself, you know. For him to be world champion, Luke's been great though since he was 17. So it's been a joy to see him get to the point he's at. So that'd be a great moment for the Copper Box though if he won that there. And again, that Rev Pro show, York Hall, got to be said. MJF coming in, what a great bit of attention to get on Rev Pro. Like the footage being on Dynamite, that's got to help with copper box sales next week too. So that's awesome.
Absolutely, and that was the sellout for York Hall. That's why it was so damn hot in there with so many people being in there. So yeah, great, really great show.
Was so long.
Yeah. Really great show last Sunday at Rev Pro for sure. But we got to move over to WWE, as you had WWE SmackDown last night. And of course, the show was centered around the Bloodline, as Solo Sikoa challenged Roman Reigns to take the Ula Fala from him in the main event segment. Roman, of course, came out to a huge pop as per usual. Man, Cody got a huge pop on this show. And LA Knight got a huge pop on this show, but they were dwarfed by the loud pop that Roman Reigns gets. Roman Reigns gets this like sustained cheers. Like it's crazy the type of pop he's getting as the OTC. He got the better of both Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga after taking out Tonga Loa last week with a spear to Sikoa, capping things off. Roman then placed the Ula Fala necklace on until the Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu returned to lay him out with a damn boot on.
I'm about to say, he had a whole cast on. He kicked him with the boot? Nah.
Wow.
Laid out Roman, had Roman's eyes popping out of his head at the hip attack, leading to the Bloodline delivering the Shield triple power bomb to Roman through the commentary table, and the show ended with Solo putting the Ula Fala back on as they stood tall over the OTC. And I've been calling Jacob Fatu the FTC, the future Tribal Chief. Sorry, Solo, your WrestleMania match, it got taken by Jacob. You also had the Street Profits. They picked up a victory over DIY in what was a fantastic main event tag team matchup to become the number one contenders to face the Bloodline for the WWE Tag Team titles next week. You had Nia Jax championship. Yeah, probably. Championship celebration kicked off the show with Tiffany Stratton hiring Pretty Deadly to do their musical for the Queen of the Ring until Michin interrupted with the kendo stick to hit everyone involved. This set up Michin to get the first shot at Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. Carmelo Hayes finally picked up a win over Andrade in an excellent and another awesome matchup between these two. Post-match, you had Melo brag about the win and get in Andrade's face, leading to an intense pull-apart brawl between the two rivals to the delight of that Orlando crowd. So really good action. I thought it was like the best in-ring action that we've gotten on an episode of SmackDown in a couple of weeks. Josh, what did you think about the OTC being laid out by Jacob Fatu to close the show, though?
I mean, something had to be done because you can't have Roman go over again. I think if you had Roman go over again, that would have been like, yeah, this is like Cena and the Nexus all over again. So it had to happen. It was fun to watch. Let's see. At least Jacob's okay. I think that was more of where I was at.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember besides that, I mean, I do agree. I think SmackDown had better in-ring stuff this week, which was a plus. It's been like that like the last couple of weeks. Like it wasn't as good to watch, so it was, I didn't mind it too much. Andrade and Melo, they always killing it.
They should just make this.
They should just make this a best of 7 at this point.
Yeah,
make this a best of 7 at this point.
Jimmy said this after the first match that they should just do a best of 7. We're at 3 matches so far. Just make it.
And honestly, it works out for both guys. It works out for both. It works out for both guys because they don't need to talk. Their strongest point is wrestling. Their biggest point is wrestling, not so much talking. So you really don't need to build a rivalry off of like promo battles because I don't think either of them win when it comes to that. So you do it in the ring. I think it works out for that. And then the opening segment, I mean, it was lame. That's just all I can really say to that. It was lame. Like,
hey, I like Michin getting an opportunity, but I don't like the fact that it came after she lost to Nia Jax. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's like, I think it's more so that I mean the corny stuff I don't mind too much, but it was just like, all right, she gets a title shot. Why she just lost and she's gonna lose again? All right, cool.
Right.
I mean, I'm happy for her.
Right.
I mean, they're doing something with her, so I'm happy for her personally. Because Sid knows we worked with her before, so like I'm happy for her in that aspect. But I'm like, it's not gonna go anywhere. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it feels very much like Selena Vega challenging Rhea Ripley.
Yes.
Oh my god, damn.
Yes, it feels very much like that.
And I think Selena was in a worse spot compared to Micha, because at least with Micha, she was at NXT. She was doing some good stuff at NXT, at least. Selena didn't win a match for like what, a year or like months or something like that.
Yes. Oh, Krssi Luv, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Jacob Fatu returning? And do you think that the bigger matchup is now Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns over Roman Reigns versus Solo? Because this is now 3 times Solo has washed. He's been washed by Roman, like since Roman came back.
Well, I mean, rightfully so, though. Like, you stole something that didn't belong to you, so you need to get washed. However, when you put the 2 wrestlers next to each other, meaning Jacob
zero comparison.
Solo, right? There's really like you talk about Zelina and Rhea. There's really not much to really like go by. Like one is just got more than the other. Let's just like call a spade. And it's sorry to say to Solo, but like you didn't really deliver for your match that you well, that's not. I mean, it is your fault, but it is. I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
Unless if WWE holds on to Dave's word, because apparently he gave it 4 stars.
Hey, it was a great match, Benno.
Oh man, that
was not a good. It was not good. I'm so sorry.
We nearly talked about that for 30 minutes. That Dave gave that match 4 stars. Like
better than Punk versus Joe at Wembley last year. That's all.
Right.
Ridiculous. But like
now he fucking just hates Punk at this point. We all know that because like we all know that.
I think we're very clearly with Solo, like it's like I think I said it last time I was on here. He can't talk, he can't wrestle, he can't even wear a suit well. Like it's almost not even his fault. He shouldn't be in main events at this point in his career. Jacob dwarfs him massively. And that segment on SmackDown last night, I think it added to it that we all thought Jacob was legitimately going to be out for a few more weeks. And the fact that he appeared with a fucking boot on and was doing all that damage made it even cool, didn't it? Added, took aura. That man has fucking aura. That's the big match. Absolutely.
Yeah, once I heard I think what happened was that I think he legit like sprained his like ankle or foot from one of those two. So I knew he was like good. As long as it's not a high ankle sprain, he's good. Usually that's
good. And he got the boot on, so the boot will help elevate the story even more. And now he uses that. They're gonna probably like ban the boot from ringside, like something stupid like that. You know what I'm saying?
Boots.
Like
tribal boots.
Right. Like something dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like let's just make it like. But you know,
it's the new friendship bracelet,
right?
What they need to do is they need to have Roman beat Solo, probably at like Bad Blood or Crown Jewel, where he gets back at Ulafala, and then you have Jacob take the Ulafala and destroy it. Like that. That's
then we get a new one because you definitely need a new one.
No, not a new one, because he's breaking basically the symbol of the family. That's what's gonna bring back the OG bloodline. Because that Ulafala means something to the Usos as well as Roman Reigns. That's going to be the thing that brings it back together. Shout out to Rick Ucchino, because he's the one that I was like, he was like, use that as a MacGuffin to bring back the truth. I was like, that's actually a good idea. We can't have a months-long storyline about a necklace. We can't.
That's what I'm saying. And when we do have the War Games, attire, I guarantee you they're gonna come out with some badass shit like around their necks when it's time to come. When they get together, then Honorary Usos is gonna get one too. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I hope. At least I hope. Like that's my fantasy in my head. Cinema, right? It's gonna be in our heads. Now, will they do that? Is the question.
Yeah, but Jacob Fatu is WrestleMania. That's where he should go one-on-one.
Yeah. And the necklace.
You see, I prefer that. I think that would be like a good thing. Like if he was to go like one-on-one with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, I'm like that's way more passable than like Roman Reigns versus Solo at WrestleMania.
Nah, they've proven that's not the match. Chuck Berry's Thank you so much for the super chat donation, good brother. He says, do you all think that WWE would pull the trigger on a Roman sabotage on the Bloodline to give the Street Profits the straps next Friday? I don't think so, because I think that the whole beatdown last night was to write Roman off, because Roman did 2 weeks in a row. That's kind of his limit, guys. He's not going to Germany. I don't think he's going to be on next week's show. So I think that the beatdown was to write him off. So he takes 2 weeks off and then comes back after.
Yeah, I think he's doing like some media thing too next week. So I don't think he's like expected to be there. Anything could happen, but I don't think he's expected to be there, because I know he's booked for something. I don't know exactly what. I was hearing rumblings about it. So I think, yes, like you said, I think it was to write him off at least for a week, and then they'll probably promote it again. Roman Reigns returns.
I was going to say they love that graphic, don't they? It's like bust that thing out again. That's coming. Yeah, I think like the way they pace the story, as I just said, Jacob, it's like the way it's set up is like, yeah, we got the 2 weeks of Roman doing the beatdowns, then we got the week of Roman getting beaten down, and in a few weeks we're going to start seeing Roman putting the bloodline together, aren't we? That's the way Triple H plots his stories. It's slow and it's steady, and you get one development per week, and yeah, I think we're going to just slowly build towards that now. That'll be the next chapter.
Yeah, 100%. But we got to know what the next chapter is in another stable, but not in WWE anymore, as it seems that both Bobby Lashley and MVP are officially gone from WWE, as their profiles were recently removed to the alumni section on WWE.com. It was previously reported that Lashley's deal would expire last weekend. Meanwhile, MVP himself said that he was done with WWE last month when he showed up at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 11. On August 14th, though, which is the interesting note, a trademark filing was made for the term The Hurt Syndicate for wrestling purposes by a company going by the name of Totally Harmless Concept LLC. The same company had filed to trademark MVP back in 2013 when the former United States champion started up with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That company also filed to trademark Ghetto Strong Style in 2013, a song by MVP that he used as his theme in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So what do you think, Benno? We haven't got your thoughts yet on the Bobby Lashley and MVP leaving WWE, now to be known as the Hurt Syndicate. Where do you think is their next stop?
It's a shame, because I think like there was money left on the table with Lashley in WWE. That's the best fit for him. Very clearly, like if only Triple H had used him, like, you know, Triple H gets all these plaudits as a book. That is clearly a big hole there in his game. I assume AEW. Again, I don't know where they fit, but I'm not against it. I could see something, I could see Lashley offering something different to AEW. So there is that there, but it's carving out that space, isn't it? I guess if we end up with 3-hour Dynamites, we're going to have more TV time to fill more acts like this, but yeah, that's the question. Any time you're talking about AEW bringing people in, it's like, where on the show and who do you just shuffle over to not do it? But yeah, they've got a bit of buzz, and it'd be cool to. There's a lot of wins going WWE's direction right now.
Shelton Benjamin to go with you. It's over.
Yeah, do something.
And he's been linked for a while. Like, he's been linked with AEW for months. So, I mean, I personally wouldn't be against it. I think it's something new. I know a lot of people were saying TNA, but I'm like, the man won every belt at TNA. Like, well, I mean, I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, that was legit his best run in TNA. Like, when he was the
That'd
Destroyer.
be going backwards now, wouldn't it?
Which it was great
so good in TNA.
Yeah,
he really did. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was great. But I'm like, he won every belt there, and he had the title. He had every title there all at once at one time. So like, what do you do when he goes back? But I think between that or like New Japan, that'd be fun. Like New Japan, he does some tours in New Japan. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and MVP has a good relationship with Tanahashi. So.
Yeah. Like MVP has that big connection with New Japan already. MVP, I'm not too crazy about his wrestling. I think his wrestling has always been like, it's nothing crazy. It's just there. But if he's paired up with Lashley, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. If MVP could still move, because I know he's been dealing with like a leg injury, right? I believe, like some kind of like leg injury or whatever. But if he could still move and you could get something, some quality, and then the fans are accepting of him, then might as well you could go with that. So I mean, it's nothing bad. There's options for them. Like they have stock, regardless of what people want to say. Like Lashley's a 2-time WWE champion. They're stuck.
It would be completing the fan in our fan mind, or the trade of Lucha Bros go to WWE. Y'all get Hurt Syndicate. Not a real easy trade.
I'll be fine with that. Honestly, I'll be fine with that. I'm like, I mean, I like Lashley. I've always liked Lashley. And again, I think there's still stock with him. I think he still has a lot to offer. Because his wrestling wasn't bad. It was just Triple H. He's not a Triple H guy. That's just all it comes down to.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Like, no one likes that. So everyone's okay with this stupid name.
Hurt Syndicate. I'm not mad at it.
I mean, I don't love it.
You have to come up with something for Hurt Business. You can't use Hurt Business.
Yeah, like I don't hate it, but it's like what's there that's left that you could really use.
It's very blah. I know you can't say business, like corporation, like
Hurt Corporation. That's worse.
It's better than this shit.
Hey, Hurt Syndicate is way better than Pure Fusion Collective.
Okay, cool. Whatever.
That is the worst
but then also,
name ever.
But remember when Hurt Business came out, we weren't too keen on it. But then after like week 3,
true.
Like, oh shit, like you like
right.
this? Oh shit, like so it could. I mean, you never know. It could work, and at least it's something that they own. I'm for that. If you go own your shit,
I will say I'm happy that they were smart and say, you know what, let's trademark our own shit, because I don't want to be in another predicament where and I'm sure they made up that other name and they can't use that name because it was on that stuff. So now they's like, no, we already bought this. We have the merch. We have to do this. So now they have to make a whole new name. It's like, no, we're gonna own this shit and we're gonna do like that. So.
Very TNA, isn't it? It's like when Balls Mahoney came in. What's Cojones doing in the Impact Zone? Like they always got to put their own spinner. Oh, there he is. That's Mike Knox. You know him. It used to be Mike Knox. Like you've got to.
It just sounds like Syndrome. It just seems like the guy from what's the show? What's the movie? Oh my god, what's the damn kids movie? What's Syndrome's? What was Syndrome was and what's the cartoon? SP, you know who Syndrome is?
Syndrome? I don't know.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Okay, whatever. It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come. It'll probably be like 10 minutes. I'm gonna be like, oh yes, okay.
Don't worry. Monday Night Raw this week, the show was huge up in the ratings. They did 1.890 million viewers, highest rating since the Raw after WrestleMania. The show featured Braun Breaker defeating Sami Zayn in a great 2 out of 3 falls main event to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Dominic Mysterio explained his betrayal alongside Liv Morgan to Rhea Ripley, who kicked off the show, before Damian Priest showed up like the bisexual Undertaker that he is behind them to attack them, leading to a brawl.
You know what?
Oh, damn.
This led to Priest picking up a win over Carlito in our opening matchup. Post-match, Judgment Day jumped Priest until Ripley made the save for the Terra Twins to stand tall again. A mixed tag team matchup was made with Priest and Rhea versus Liv and Dom for Bash in Berlin on Saturday, August 31st. The Creed brothers beat Alpha Academy in a Texas Tornado tag team matchup after Ivy Nile turned heel to attack Maxine Dupree. Bronson Reed, he picked up another win over The Miz. A post-match, his latest tsunami victim was not The Miz, but unfortunately, Pure Sweet R-Truth, as Reed hit 4 tsunamis, actually 5 tsunamis on him until Adam Pearce finally did his damn job and got officials to talk him down.
He didn't do shit. He didn't do nothing.
Gunta confronted Randy Orton and called him, his father, and grandfather screw-ups until Orton delivered an RKO to Gunther after Drew McIntyre distracted him. This led to CM Punk showing up to whip McIntyre with his own belt in a very hot segment on this show. Monday Night Raw is doing very, very well with some hot shows over the last couple of weeks. This was a step down from last week's show, which was one of the best from WWE all year, but another good show this week. Benno, what have you been thinking about the Monday Night Raws over the last couple of weeks and this week's show?
Yeah, you know me, like, traditionally, I'm not a Fed guy, but I've been loving Raw. Like, last week especially, I'm glad you said that. Last week was such a great show. Like, if you're going to do a 3-hour Raw, it's never going to be perfect, because it's a 3-hour Raw, but that was as good a show as you could have put on. There was barely any fat on that. This week was a step down, but it was still really good. I'll take a show with a Sami Bron, or with an angle, like you said, that kicked off the show, the Judgment Day angle. Like, it's just hot characters in front of hot crowds who invested. I know, call me crazy, but what a great little secret sauce they've got there. And I thought Gunther and Orton was a great segment as well. You're right, Punk and Drew was a lot better. I like that that's gone back to, it's not about the stupid friendship bracelet anymore. It's just going to be a fight between men, and we're going to get a strap match, it looks like, and then we're going to get presumably a Hell in a Cell match out of it. That's what I want. Not Seth Rollins dancing in the background while we fight over a kid's bracelet. Let's do that. And it seems like we're headed on the right track with that too. So yeah, unbelievably, Raw's probably been my favorite TV show the last couple of weeks, and that is not a phrase I would usually say.
Yeah, like I said last week, I said Raw was the better show between them and Dynamite, the best show of the week from last week's show. And then this week was another very good show where I think that they also beat out Dynamite for the week as well this week. So yeah, Monday Night Raw is on a good run, especially with the Judgment Day angle. You got Gunther and Randy Orton, Punk and Drew. The only stuff that I was like, I'm not really into that is anything involving Karrion Kross or The Miz.
Yeah. Karrion Kross is never getting over, is he? Triple H just.
I'm about to say that's the dead in the water type of thing, friends. Like they really, I think it needs to be a whole like rewash and like let's just like start from scratch. Let's just like throw the paper in the garbage and like just like because you got a ton of just paper over there, like a ton of ideas just about a trash can. We need to start.
You want to talk about rewatch? You know what? Adam Pearce should be fired at this point. I'm like sick of I'm sick of his shit already.
His shit, already? You mean he's been? I've
been sick of his shit.
Hey,
but it's like now
Adam Pearce was not the worst thing on this show. The worst thing on this show was Pure Fusion Collective.
That was the worst. I mean, yeah. I'm just saying, like the fact that this man suspended Drew, right? Drew throws a little elbow, right? Nobody got hurt. Nobody got injured. He throws a little elbow, and all of a sudden he got suspended, right?
Yeah.
But then we had Wyatt Six, who basically committed murder a long time ago. Nothing happens. Nothing happened, right? But then last week, Bronson Reed kills Seth Rollins. Nothing happens. And then all of a sudden he does the same thing to Truth. This man is starting him with a suspension and fine. And then he did it like 3 more times after he did that. Like what are we doing? This man should be fired already. He should have been fired like last year.
Yep.
No authority.
Well, I don't know if he needs to be fired, but I feel like he needs to just go.
No, his ass needs to be fired.
Brush up training on how to be a manager because you're not doing very well. And I think that's someone's story. Like someone needs to like put you in some type of training.
Get his ass out of there. He needs to go back to NWA. Send him back to NWA.
Matter of fact, let's have Chelsea Green be the headliner for that. No, she's on SmackDown. Fuck.
Chelsea Green, general manager Chelsea Green. You're on to something there.
She'll be way more competent. I'll tell you that much.
And then Piper Niven will be like her, like the person, like her, like right there. It would be really good though.
Her deputy, her stone cold deputy. There you go. Quick notes with Raw news. Randy Orton has signed a new deal with WWE. Fightful Select reported sources within the company indicated that Orton re-signed. He originally signed a 5-year deal back in 2019, which was set to keep him under contract until the end of the year. It was said the deal wasn't as clear-cut as it appeared. Initially, the word is that he actually secured a new deal. Reports suggest that Orton has agreed to a new 5-year contract that will keep him in the company until late 2029. When a WWE executive was asked why they would offer him a new contract instead of just extending his current one because of his injury, the response was, "I can't confirm that he signed a new deal, but the guaranteed money in contract has changed significantly since 2019. There have been updates to our live event schedules, touring, international dates, media commitments, merchandise, and social media that make it more reasonable to negotiate a new deal in many cases." And then Orton confirmed that he signed a new deal in a new interview with Vincent Bertrand for Marca.com. When asked about potentially pursuing a title matchup against Cody Rhodes, Orton revealed that he's in no rush after signing a new deal with WWE. "I know you're alluding to Cody and his title, and maybe I'd like to do that later, but I don't think I should rush it. I'm going to keep doing this for a long time. I just signed a 5-year contract extension, and I don't have to rush it. I've got all the time in the world. As far as I'm concerned, I feel great. I feel healthy." So are we not going to get Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton this year? Because that's what that answer sounded like. Like they're going to and we know Triple H is booking. He loves to drag this shit out.
I'm about to say that's going to be a disservice.
It doesn't feel like it's happening this year, to be honest with you. Especially like if they make it official that Orton is on Raw and Cody's on SmackDown. You know, like they're still trying to make that a thing, right? Because apparently there was like some kind of like trade talks that was going on Monday. So it doesn't feel like it's going to happen this year. I mean, it should. But I guess they probably see more importance with that going forward. I don't know. Like I really don't know what they're doing.
I think at Royal Rumble they're doing Roman and Cody again.
Yeah.
So I don't even. They could tell Rock, "Oh, we don't need you for this year's WrestleMania. We'll do Orton and Cody then."
Yeah, but then also I think The Rock. I think the situation with The Rock too is kind of muddy at the moment because they haven't even started filming Fast 11 yet. So once they get into production, who knows how long he's going to be out once that starts.
Wait, Fast?
I think it's a big.
Are they back on that franchise? I thought he went with like the whole.
No, he was in the post-credit scene for 10.
Yeah. So he's gonna be in 11. He's gonna be in 11, but they haven't started
Vin
filming
Diesel
yet.
and Tyrese still have beef no more?
No,
they probably still do, but it's probably money.
Money changes everything.
You know what, guys?
Passive-aggressive Instagram beef.
Correct. I'm about to say it's definitely a good down payment to like, you know, getting things squared off and pushed to the side. Sure. The dollar signs is correct, and sure, we'll do 5 more movies if we have to. Sure.
See, I think the politics are bad in wrestling. That set must be something else on those movies. No wonder there's only one more. But like, I'm a big fan of those series. They're terrible, but it's like wrestling. Wrestling's terrible.
Their set is like an AEW locker room.
It is. It is though. Yes.
Probably with worse clauses in their deals. Like apparently they have clauses in their deals that none of them can't lose to each other in fights or some shit because they always gotta look strong. Like Vin Diesel got some nerve. I'm like, bro, you know in a real fight you ain't beating The Rock.
He's
like
wearing lifts in his shoes on set and all kinds. It's so pro wrestling, isn't it? Can't look small next to Dwayne. On the Orton Cody thing, like that's the biggest match Cody can do that isn't Roman or Rock or Bloodline related. I'm looking forward to the Owens match. Thought the AJ matches were fun, but I want to see Cody get that top of the card, like proper main event match, and a grudge feud with Orton would be the one. So yeah, now that you say it, we're running out of lane, aren't we? Running out of track. How will they fit that in this year? Probably not actually with that. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I think Orton's just having too much of a good time being the the retaining dad babyface that he is now. Maybe he doesn't want to turn too soon.
And like I think it was Sam Roberts said on his show, he was like, you can describe the Kevin Owens current feud, the AJ Styles, and the Logan Paul into one big circle of Cody says, "I respect you, but I'm trying to prove myself as champion." That's the definition of all of his feuds outside of the bloodline, and it's kind of getting old. It's kind of getting old at this point to me.
It's very upper mid card, isn't it? Cody's carrying it, but I'd like to see him do some big time stuff.
Yeah. According to a report by PW Insider Elite, WWE is planning that rematch, like Benno was saying, between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for Bash in Berlin later this month. At the time of their report, they expected a stipulation to be part of that. It was confirmed by Ebu of WrestlePeris as well as the Wrestling Observer newsletter that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for Bash in Berlin will be a strap match. That show takes place on Saturday, August 31st. So I'm definitely looking forward to Drew and Punk being the focus. They have a physically intense matchup that will be better than SummerSlam, that even Dave Meltzer will have to give it more than 3 stars.
Oh, he won't. He'll find a way to pull some bullshit. He'll find one way. Because again, like the SummerSlam match, I thought it was a great match. It was my match of the night, and then he gave it what he gave it. And his reasonings were, I think it was all kind of like bullshit, in my opinion. Like, oh, it was disappointment. Like, no, fuck, it wasn't. People loved it.
Mm-hmm.
People loved the match. Like, what are we doing here?
We didn't love the last match.
Now, if you don't like CM Punk, just say that. I think I could respect you more. This is basically, it feels like Benzino with Eminem all over again for the source.
I love that. We got a report was floating around about Vince McMahon's health. Was declining, something that his lawyer shot down. As WrestleNomics reports, a rumor originated from the wrestling podcast of Lee Cole, claiming that he had heard from a mutual acquaintance that Linda McMahon had told people that Vince is in declining health. The rumor gained enough traction that McMahon's lawyer, Jessica Rosenberg, issued a statement that read, "Vince's health is fine. We have no idea where the rumor that he had health issues came from, but it's not true." Cole is the brother of the late Tom Cole, who alleged he was sexually molested as a minor by Mel Phillips and Terry Garvin in the infamous Ring Boy scandal. Tom Cole passed away from suicide in 2021. Lee Cole told WrestleNomics that he doubted McMahon could provide any evidence supporting his lawyer's assertion that his health is fine. Meanwhile, Janelle Grant has filed a motion to strike a bill of discovery filed by the lawyer mentioned in her lawsuit against Vince McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis. As previously reported, Dr. Carlin Coker of Peak Wellness, Inc. filed a 15-page complaint last week for the bill of discovery, describing Grant's request for discovery against him as a smear campaign that was designed to boost her well-publicized allegations against McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis. Grant filed the original discovery petition for records against Coker and Peak Wellness, alleging that she was sent to the Greenwich, Connecticut clinic at Vince McMahon's direction starting in November of 2019 and received treatments that were not disclosed to her, including pills and IV infusions. Post Wrestling reports that Grant's new filing seeks to strike the verified complaint and dismiss Coker's bill of discovery in full. It also seeks an award of statutory sanctions, costs, and authorities' fees against plaintiffs. Grant's team describes Coker's actions as a desperate and brazen attempt to silence a former patient investigating wrongdoings related to her medical care. The motion also argues that Coker's complaint failed to establish claims upon which relief could be granted and infringes on her First Amendment right of free speech to report on a matter of public health and concern. Grant seeking treble damages against Coker and Peak Wellness for bringing the bill of discovery without a probable cause listed. Coker's legal team declined to comment on the filing and said that they will reserve their comments for court. So that is the latest from the Vince McMahon ongoing drama. I think this thing is going to go well into 2025. The way they're going back and forth with all of this, I don't think they're even going to see a court until 2025 because it's just new stuff, bill of discoveries, more complaints being filed.
Or even further than that. I think probably maybe 2026 to be honest.
I think to 26 to be honest, because they're gonna keep delaying, trying to keep prolonging this. No one wants to take account. Everyone is pointing the finger to other people when they all were there, I'm sure. And this is gonna definitely be like a 2-3 year thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. You have any comments or thoughts on the whole ongoing lawsuit, Benno?
Yeah, it's a shame Vince McMahon isn't sick. But other than that, I wish that man bad health. To be fair, the only positive is if he is in good health, when he does eventually go to prison, he can suffer, can't he? And live the rest of his days behind bars like he should.
He won't get out of it like Jimmy Snuka.
Well, that's the other thing. If it drags on long enough, I'm hoping you guys don't put Trump in office.
The thing is, too, is that's if charges are even being filed against him, because right now the lawsuit is just more is a civil matter. So like he'll just get hit in the pockets. But once like if he's like legit like gets charged and actually like for that, then yeah, like by the time he gets into jail,
iced it, so
he probably already like he's already on his last legs by the time that's gonna happen.
He'll get the neck brace out. He'll be coming out with a cane. And all that, won't he? You know what he's like. Plays these fucking games. Yeah.
Tell him that's not gonna work out, pal.
WWE NXT this week, they did 617,000 viewers. The show featured Chase U beating Axiom and Nathan Frazier in a good main event to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. You also had new champion being crowned as Charlie Dempsey defeated Tony D'Angelo in a solid bout to win the NXT Heritage Cup thanks to interference from the newest member of the No Quarter Catch crew, Ren Sinclair. Obafemi beat Otis to retain the NXT North American Championship, while Joe Hendry interrupted NXT champion Ethan Page to position himself as the next challenger. But Wes Lee super kicked Hendry. This led to a promo later in the night where Wes explained his actions against Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, where he said they tried to get the WWE rub from him with the Rascals reunion and challenge Wentz to a matchup at No Mercy. However, Pete Dunne and Joe Hendry interrupted, leading to a three-way ball to set up a triple threat number one contenders matchup next week on NXT. And speaking of Joe Hendry, he has installed the current working relationship between WWE and TNA as an example of business done right. Hendry has been the most prominent figure in the crossover between the two promotions, and he spoke with US Today and said about the partnership, this partnership between TNA Wrestling and WWE has been the perfect example of business done right. Business done right is where every single party wins. TNA wins because we're selling out regularly now. Our crowds are getting so big. We're gaining so much from the increased exposure. WWE, a lot of their NXT talents are getting the opportunity to perform for a different audience. Wrestlers win, and the fans win because it's an exciting product. Benno, what do you think about the NXT-TNA partnership so far and the crossover?
We always say, like, over here, you've always got to read a history book and be aware of how relationships with WWE usually go for most wrestling promotions. And I think it'd be easy to simplistically paint it as WWE are taking all the top TNA guys, and what are TNA getting? A couple of NXT cast-offs. But you just have to look at the TNA business metrics, look at that last pay-per-view, like the numbers are up, not massively up, but there's clearly a positive side for them of that brand exposure. It's just, it's that trade-off of, it's shop window, isn't it? Joe Hendry feels more like an NXT guy than he does a TNA guy, and I suppose you've kind of got to grin and bear that if you're TNA and take that.
Like it's balance, isn't it? That's how I see it too. Yeah, that's how I see it too.
Take it on the chin.
Yeah. This is basically what WWE is doing to TNA. This is how I feel about it. This is dumb. Let me SpongeBob.
Oh, the SpongeBob meme.
It's what they do. It's what they've always done. Look at Brit Rez. Look what happened. We used to have Brit Rez. We don't have one anymore.
Yeah, it's working out for Joe Hendry. Like that's good to see with Joe Hendry. But I do agree. Yeah. Like when it comes to like, hey, it's working out for everybody. It's like it's more so like I've said before, and I've been saying it for a while. Like SP3 knows. It's like with TNA, I'm like I want to see the big names from NXT go on TNA too. Like I just don't want to see like the whole random like people that they weren't getting over on NXT. Why are you gonna? Do you think they're gonna get over in TNA? Like,
yes,
that's the only thing I want to see. I just want to see more of that. Like, let's see, like because I know like Alexander got brought up, but then again, Alexander, another big TNA name on NXT. I'm like, what are they getting in return? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that I would say when it comes to that.
And Eddie James, we will not be covering that bullshit that Mark Henry said. I will not even bore you with that because that is not worth our time. But we do have a super chat donation from Aubrey James. Thank you so much, Aubrey James, for the support. He says Cody needs to turn heel. Roman Reigns is overshadowing him as a babyface. No, it is perfectly fine to have a 1A, 1B babyface. They can both be babyfaces, and the matchup will be even bigger on the third go-around.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Rocking
and then Cody being baby, that's not. He's not turning heel. He's not.
No time soon.
They got too much money, too much time invested.
He's gonna be the baby face like John Cena to the end of time.
It's going.
Yeah, at this point, he's too much. Like it's too much money. Like there's too much money invested.
Right. You know how many devastated children that there will be.
Oh yeah, even though Cody as a heel would be fantastic because
he would be.
He does incredible work as a heel. I think SP3 knows firsthand how incredible he is as a heel. To the point that SP3 had a feud with him for years.
Like, how does this bleach blonde guy in a suit? How is he such a babyface? How is he making this work? He is, and it's incredible that he is. But there's also an incredible heel run, but way down the line. Like I said before, I feel like they haven't put the best foot forward with this title run. They haven't given top level matches, and yet he's still as over as he is right now, and business as good as it is. You don't change anything. I don't think with Cody right now. He's working, maybe except for the opponent.
Yeah, I mean it's been good. Like the title run itself has been good. You know, he has great matches with AJ Styles.
The output's been great.
But then there's also like when you're trying to compete with somebody who had the title for over 1,300 days, that's also like.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the best thing
that's a hard hill to climb.
Is that it's two different types of baby faces because Roman is very much the badass baby face, and Cody is the white meat baby face. So it's good that they have two distinct
caters to kids.
And they can be on the same show, but kept away from.
They'd have killed for one like 5 years ago. Now they've got two. Like it's incredible.
But then also Roman is part-time, so it's not like you have him on TV every time. So that also helps in a sense.
And long term, I think Cody winds up back on Raw. Like you've got two shows, you can have two top baby faces. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem.
And long term, also Orton needs to turn heel, and CM Punk needs to turn heel because those are the only two guys.
Punk is not heel yet.
I mean, to me, he has been heel. Because Drew McIntyre is
no, he's definitely heel to me. Because that happy-go-lucky Punk ain't full of me. That's definitely heel.
Yeah, he's speaking my language. He's my favorite wrestler of all time, but I like him when he's unhappy. That's when he's my favorite. I want to see him get mad.
That's what I said last week. That's what I said last week. I said that. I told SP3 that. Like I told him that. I'm like, yo, I like the bitter Phil. That's what I want. I want the bitter Phil. That's
where the money is.
I like. Not this happy-go-lucky. He freaking lost his match and then he's fucking smiling on TV. Like, what the hell is that?
Happy to be there, Punk. We got it in AEW too, didn't we? I want the real Phil. We haven't had it for so long. I want to see him just cut heel promos, I imagine.
He just needs that one person who brings it out of him. We need that. But we'll finish up what we missed with Stardom and TNA. Stardom started their 5-star Grand Prix this past week. Day 1 featured Mayu Iwatani beating Tam Nakano in a terrific main event. You also had Micah defeating Natsupoi in a very good matchup. AEW's Anna Jay picked up her first win in the tournament over Sari Anoa'i, and Azumi defeated Momo Watanabe in another very good bout, as well as Shuri beating Starlight Kid in yet another really good matchup on the first night. Second night, you had Mayu Iwatani defeating Saya Ida in a great main event. Azumi and Mei Sera went to a 15-minute time limit draw in a rather good matchup, and Tamaka Anabao defeated Momo Watanabe. Day 3 featured Starlight Kid defeating Anna Jay in the AEW Stars' first loss in the tournament. Sari Anoa'i defeated Shuri. Hanan beat Arasa Sarah, and Saya Ida defeated Tam Nakano. Day 4 featured Azumi defeated Tam Nakano to basically eliminate the World of Stardom champion from winning this year's tournament off the rip. Afa Anoa'i and Starlight Kid went to a 15-minute draw, while Mayu Iwatani went 3-0 so far with a win over Momo Watanabe. TNA Impact this week, the show featured a 30-minute time limit draw between Nick Nemeth and Josh Alexander in their TNA World Championship main event matchup. Post-match, Nemeth asked for 5 more minutes, but Alexander low-blowed him to stand tall. This sets up a 60-minute time limit Iron Man matchup coming up at Emergence next Friday. Post-match, you had the other than that, you had Moose beat Mike Santana. Post-match, the System were about to jump Santana until Joe Hendry made the save. He then announced that Moose and JDC will face the Hardy Boys on next week's show. Riley Osborne beat John Schuyler and Chris Bay, while Jason Hodge defeated Ace Austin and Rich Swann for both NXT's Riley Osborne and Jason Hodge to advance to the X Division Championship Ultimate X matchup at Emergence on August 30th. So some big moves being made for Emergence over on TNA, but we've made it to the end of the show where we give you our best of the week, whether it be match of the week or best and worst of the week. So Benno, you haven't been on here in a while, so we're explaining. Now we do not just only our best matches of the week, but who you thought had the best week and who you thought had the worst week. So we'll start with that. My best of the week, I'm going to have to give it to Konosuke Takeshita because he finished out the G1, and I don't think anyone elevated his stock more in this year's G1 than Konosuke Takeshita. If Tony Khan does not push this man when he's back in AEW, it will be booking malpractice, and I will do a whole segment on this show, which is persecuting Tony Khan for his crimes against Konosuke Takeshita. So Konosuke Takeshita is the best of the week. And worst of the week, I'm going to also keep it with the G1. It's Evil, because Evil started off 5-0 and somehow did not make the playoffs because he lost his 4 last matches. So that's my best and worst of the week. Krssi Luv, who you got?
I'll go reverse, and worst of the week is Solo Sikoa.
Fair.
Best of the week, give it to Dom and Liv.
Okay. I did like Dom's explanation. I did like it. He was like, she treats me like a man. She lets me have all the chicken tendies that I want and lets me play video games. I was like, I love this kid. I love this kid. And then he was on the Impulsive podcast with Logan Paul. And he asked Logan Paul, he was like, oh, can you go to Japan?
That was so funny. But he said you'd be such a heel if you wore that hat. Oh, dying. And you can see Paul's just like, trying not to sell.
Being like a true asshole, but being genuine at the same time. And I feel like Logan almost wanted to shit in his pants almost. So I think that came out of that feel.
Logan's thinking sponsorships. He's thinking getting back into the country one day. That's the most serious I've ever seen him. He was stone faced, wasn't he? Didn't sell it at all.
So
amazing.
Good. That was so good. It was so good. Josh, your best and worst of the week.
Best of the week. Best, I'm gonna go with the state of Texas for getting all in for next year.
Okay. I like that.
That's fair.
Worst of the week, Adam Pearce. He's a bitch.
Of course. Last week we had bum Finn Balor. This week we got bitch ass Adam Pearce.
He is. I mean, Finn is such a bum. They're sending him back to the Indies in October. Did you see that?
Yes, he was announced for OTT in Dublin, Ireland.
Look at that. See, it proved my point.
Listen, we're not going to do this, okay?
Not going to do this to Krssi again. Beto, who you got best and worst of the week?
Yeah, I can't stand those guys either. So, sorry, Krssi, I wouldn't back you up on that one. I'd say best of the week, Jacob Fatu. Just that moment on SmackDown.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And again, the fact that he's back earlier than maybe some of us thought, and it's not as serious as we were all worried about. That's got to be a gigantic win. I suppose on the All In front, if it's worst of the week, our country, we've lost All In next year. We're getting it back the year after at least, but it's a real kick in the teeth. That so yeah, the Brits have lost, so probably us as a whole. If I'm talking in-ring wrestling, maybe the Young Bucks or the Acclaimed after this week's Dynamite. That match is probably could be a category of its own as worst of the week. But yeah, not a good week for the UK.
All right, Krssi Luv, start us off with matches of the week. Your 3, 5, or 10 with me usually. Best matches that you saw this week. What do you got?
I'm gonna give you 3. The MJF match and that you guys were present for.
Oh, cool.
That was good. The Street Profits and DIY. And then number 3, I would give to Swerve and
Really, Yuta?
Yes.
Josh, what you got? Matches of the week.
I'm gonna go top 3. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Street Profits versus DIY. That was a really fun matchup from last night. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Swerve versus Yuta, and number 1, I'm gonna go with Tsuji versus Kakeshna in the playoffs for the G1.
Benno, what you got?
I'll go Sami Bron from Raw. Really enjoyed that this week.
Yes, that was good. Very honorable mention. Yeah. Yes, good job. Yeah,
I love that little work rate IC title division they've got going on. It's good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
make
definitely
the titles mean something like they used to.
There you go. Yosuji Takeshita obviously is got to be in there as well. I'm trying to think of a third one. I suppose Dynamite this week I did like Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Roddy Strong. That was another good mid card kind of work rate match. Maybe not best, but most enjoyable of the week. So yeah, really like that too.
Yeah, I have 10 again. I watch too much wrestling. I'm sorry. Number 10.
We're kind of used to this by now. SP, don't even. It doesn't. It doesn't surprise us.
I go with OC, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. That exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed that one.
A lot of fun.
Number 9 from last Saturday, Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo.
Oh shit! I forgot about that match.
That was great. 8, Bron and Sami, like Benno said, the work rate was great in that one. DIY and the Street Profits, number 7 from last night. I just had to add that to my list. Number 6, Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano from Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. Really strong women's matchup there. And then the top 5, number 5, Zack Sabre Jr. and Sonata. Those two guys just have great, smooth technical wrestling whenever they're in the ring together. Number 4, Yota Tsuji versus Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita's final matchup in the G1. His selling of the knee was fantastic in that matchup. Number 3, Kaito Kiyomiya versus Roye Uyoa from Noah's N1. That was a 30-minute time limit draw. Those two guys had great chemistry together. And Uyoa, he's going to be a star when he goes back to New Japan. But the top 2 is from this morning. Yota Tsuji versus David Finlay in the semifinals of the G1. That might have been Yota Tsuji's best match yet, or Finley's best match yet, because they had that Sumo Hall crowd rocking. But number 1, Zack Sabre Jr. and Shingo Takagi, one of the best matches of the G1. And Zack Sabre Jr. actually had me rooting for him, despite being bullied into rooting for him in the G1. But that is my top 10 matches of the week. And that is all for our podcast this week. We got in the chat Chase, not Chase Owen, excuse me. Chilling with Chase, who says number 3, Mercedes versus Shida. Number 2, Street Profits DIY. And number 1, Tsuji versus future AEW main eventer and should be world title hopeful in 2025, Konosuke Takeshita. The man, the myth, the legend. Benno, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. It's been too long. We got to have you back again because you always so much fun. You know how to talk about everything like we do here. So we want to give you the floor where you could tell everybody where they could follow you and see all your great content, sir. The floor is yours. Professional podcaster extraordinaire, Benno.
That's it. So, no, always great to be on here. Does always. I always say it feels like home away from home. We do a very similar show, I'd say, on over on Grapple Spotlight, or at Grapple Pod on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, video, audio, or otherwise. And yeah, we are professional podcasters, so much so that all in weekend, if you are knocking around the day of the Copper Box, we are actually over the road from the Copper Box doing our this year's live show. So you can come and watch us live at Hackney Bridge doing a podcast on stage. So that's going on. Come hang out, have a few beers as well. Say hello if you see us around on the weekend too. But yeah, Grapple, No E, everywhere podcasts are, and you can follow me on Twitter at Benson Richard E as well. But yeah, been brilliant being on again with you three.
Always enjoy you being on the show, Miss Krssi Luv. Floor is yours. Let everybody know where they can follow you.
Hey guys, thanks for being here yet again. Follow us here on the flagship show every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Other than that, I'm on bodyslam.net for Know Your Role for Friday post show of SmackDown as we give our results and information of what we liked about the show. If we probably didn't like it, most likely. But anywho, that's what myself and Stephanie hypes. Other than that, you can follow me. IG is Krssi Luv _1. Tru Heel Krssi Luv is on Twitter. And then just my plain old name, Crystal. Thanks.
And Josh, tell them where they can follow Prince.
You can follow him on JamPunk321, Twitter and Instagram. And we'll be back next weekend for Tru Heel Heat. I'll be on for that. And
indeed. Yes, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel SP3. I believe me and Josh will probably be live tomorrow on the Tru Heel Heat Sports and Entertainment channel because we got to review Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 1. So we'll be doing that on the second channel tomorrow. I'll probably be here as well because I got to get in the Collision discourse. We've been on a nice run with that. So maybe I'll do some short time over here, give you a quick review of tonight's show. And of course, I'll be back here on Monday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time with our NJPW G1 Climax 34 final review with me, Sanal, NJ News. Until then, at Tru Heel SP3, follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Tru Heel Heat, patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat, $3 a month, the best place to support us when we are not live here. But thank you all for joining us live. Thank you all for watching us on demand. This has been so much fun having Benno back on the show, having my usual compadres here talking about the world of wrestling. So until next Saturday at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time, that's Krssi Luv. That is the Tru Draw Josh, our special guest, Benno, the one and only. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 290, all in Lucha Business. We are signing off until next time.